Hi, welcome to NDE TV. I'm Peggy Robinson. Today's guest is Monica Rao. And wow, Monica, you have a story. So if you don't mind, I'm going to let you start wherever you like and just take as long as you like, okay?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Peggy, I'm so excited to be here today. It's been a long time coming, so thank
Yeah.
you so much for having me. So I'd like to just take everybody on a journey of where everything began. So this big experience that I'm here to share with you actually started about 16 years ago in 2010 when when I was going through a very difficult situation in terms of just what was happening in life. Not difficult in the sense of difficult, but more in the sense of so much was happening at one time. We had just moved from one state to another with my younger child, who was just about 6 months old at that time when we moved, and my older son was about 9 years old. So, just about as we were coming into the city, the state really, my husband had started a new job uh, here in town, and I had also started a new job at a university, just like my husband did. Our lives were just so hectic and so busy, so calendared. So it's my husband took up a job as one of the bigger positions in the city, in the state. So heading a university. So that comes with a lot of amazing responsibilities, but also life is very busy when we are looking at how it is being the head of a university and all the things that come together with for us as a family too. So having two little kids and me also being employed by the university as a faculty member, being so involved with all these many responsibilities, and being the spouse of the president, that's a whole different ball game in and of itself. So
Yes.
there's lots of duties that come with it. So balancing that, balancing our life as a family, balancing the life of a newborn child and a new moving to a new city, new state, and a new job. So you can imagine all stressful things that's supposed to be stressful were all happening at one time. And our life was very calendared. So it was nothing was so simple, right? As most people have simple lives, ours certainly wasn't. I was busy all the time. But in that moment, just having to wear so many hats, one thing after the other, just wearing these many hats, being a faculty member, being a community, steward there, being a mom, doing a lot of things in the community and helping other people, serving on different boards. So many things were going on at one time. And something had to give. You know how it is being a mom? It's very difficult to actually fall sick or be sick. So we just keep moving, moving, moving. So during that time frame, I started feeling not myself, not myself. And what that meant at that time, I didn't know what that meant. But this this specific thing occurred one time when my husband was about to go and speak at a event at one of the local country clubs. And I just felt something odd inside of me. I just knew it because back about 3 weeks prior to that particular incident, I was running a high temperature. I was running about, I don't know how high, it just felt high. I didn't stop to think and pay attention to myself, which is really quite ironical. So I'm going to take you back even further now, all the way back to my childhood, right in my teen years. Actually, even prior to that, right about at age 8 is when I started doing yoga. So I was very blessed to be raised. I was born and raised in India. I was very blessed because my parents were very open-minded and they had, exposed me to spirituality at a very young age. So with yoga, and then by the age of 19 years old or so, I started doing meditation, transcendental meditation. I think you all may know or have heard about it. And I'd also gone to the advanced level of meditation there, and it became so much as a part of my life. There was no separation between me as who I am and this this meditative, sort of it became my life, right? So I would meditate a couple hours each day. Fast forward, moved to the United States in 98, and that was something I always did. But when we moved to this city where I am now, in this new job with this new child, new baby, and an older son, and everything I had to do, that left me with just little time, almost nil for myself. I had a lot of time, but it was all for other people. And this is what I want to bring, highlight later. I'll be talking more about what are the repercussions of doing this, about not really paying attention to oneself, but really allowing the world and everything outside to sort of be, the guide for everything that we do and live. I think all of us experience that, right? We live life from a state of conditioning. We know something is deep within us, but somehow we just go by what other people want of us and the images that they create for us, and we go by just that. So i was I fell prey to that as well. So all of this is happening at that time. So much is going on, balls up in the air, and here I have no time for myself. So I had stopped meditating about 6 months prior to this incident that I'm going to share with you. So 2 hours of meditation. Oh, not even 1 minute of meditation. You can imagine.
Yeah.
No time for anything. So anyway, so 2 weeks, 3 weeks prior to that, actually 3 weeks prior to this incident that I'm going to talk about, I was running fever, and I just didn't stop to think about how much is it, you know, because I have to take care of my child, right? And I have to take care of everything else. So
Mhm.
that was where it all ended. But anyway, my husband was going up on stage to deliver a talk, and I could feel something just didn't feel right. So I held on to his arm. I know I was about to collapse. I held his arm and I said, something's up. I don't feel right. And he said, right now, just please go and sit down. It's better you sit than you falling down. But I think I take about 2 steps and everything is a blur from that point on. I don't remember absolutely anything. So I fall to the ground. I guess these people have picked me up and taken me to the ladies' room. And I don't know how long I'm gone, but after some time, I open my eyes, I look up. This physician is looking over my head because this event that we were at, were all physicians were in this event. All the cancer doctors were all in this place. So I was lucky. I was really blessed that they were right there to take, to lift me up and take me into the ladies' room. And they just touched my forehead. And as they looked down at me, they're saying, "You need to go to you need to go to the ED right now, the emergency room right now. And I'm going to have your husband, as he's coming in, as he's done with his talk, as he comes back in, I'm going to ask him to take you to the ED right away." And when I hear this, of course, I'm burning, but I'm kind of, in a daze, just waking up from that wherever I've vanished, right? I'm looking up and they're saying, you need to go to the doctor right now. So in any case, my husband comes in and the doctor says, you need to take her right now to the ED. Well, I'm in the wheelchair and they wheel me out and I'm fighting him. I said, no, I'm going to be okay. Just take me home. Just take me home. I'll be fine. I promise you. I'll rest and I'll be okay. Again, I wasn't listening to myself. So he takes me home reluctantly. I'm gone home. The weekend comes and goes. The next day, that's Monday, comes along. And I am laying down in bed, calling in sick for work. By this time, I was still working at the university. I call in sick and I'm laying in the bed, hoping I'll just, crash for about, I don't know, maybe half hour, 45 minutes. And I'm laying down, Peggy, and the next time I'm awakened, I awaken myself. It's 3 p.m. So I'm there with no water, completely dehydrated, feeling so lethargic. I've never felt this lethargic in my entire life, where I could not even move my arm like that. I was so lethargic, and that really scared me. So my husband was out at work, kids were at school and daycare, and I'm by myself upstairs and don't have the energy to even move my arm, which means I cannot go down where the kitchen is. And I just find my phone, my cell phone's right by me, and I dial my husband, and barely words are coming out. And he notices something is wrong with me because he was also reluctant to go to work that day. He didn't want to go, he didn't want to leave me. But I said, no, 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 go, go, go. I'll be fine. I'm just going to rest. I'll be fine. And as he goes, and I call him, and he hears my voice, he knows something is up. He says, hang up. I'm going to call the doctor right now. And he calls the doctor, my PCP. And she's out somewhere hiking in the mountains here. So she isn't receiving the calls. And finally, when she does, about maybe a few minutes, maybe it's an hour into it. I don't remember actually, maybe 30 or 40 minutes into it. She calls me back. She calls me directly and she says, hello. And I can barely even say hello. And she says, oh my gosh, something is up with you. Because I'm a very energetic person, not very sickly sounding. And she says, I want you to go right now and see my partner. I'm not there, but I want you to go see my partner. Get a ride and go. So I call a friend. My friend comes over, and she says, come on, let's go. We go off, and I'm entering into the doctor's office. The doctor's actually in there. And I walk in, and she just darts a look at me. She hasn't even tested me. She's not even looked at me. She just like darts a look at me, and she says, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Why didn't you call 911? You look like a sick woman. You look like a dead woman. That's what she
Mm.
says. Imagine what could have happened
Yeah.
to me, right? I had tears, literally, I had tears rolling down. That was an indicator that she was speaking the truth.
I
I
got
felt it.
chills.
Yes,
You
you're a
poor
dead
baby.
woman. Why are you here? I'm calling 911. And she wasn't just threatening, she actually meant it. She actually went to the phone and she dialed 911. And I said, please. And I went there and I said, please don't stop, stop. And I stopped her. And she hung up. She was about to call. She hung up and she said, will you promise me you're going to go right now? I said, yes, I have a friend. She will take me. I promise you. You have my word for it. Because by that time, I knew something was wrong because I'm an energetic person. And not having the ability to even move my arm and being wheeled into the doctor's office, something was clearly wrong with me. In any case, so my friend takes us. I'm in the hospital. They draw my blood. My husband meets us there. My blood is drawn. They're looking at the results. It's dismal. It's terrible. All the values have tanked. They know something is wrong, they just don't know what yet. So I am now running through a battery of tests, all kinds of tests. You name it, I think I've been through all of the tests. Very quickly, they say, something is drastically wrong with you. We just have to figure out what. We don't know what it is. Initially, they thought it was lymphoma, leukemia. It wasn't that. And now they were actually hitting a wall and they had no idea. So I was in the ICU for 2 weeks. This was around November time, 2010. And just closer towards Thanksgiving. So maybe about 2 weeks, we would have hit into Thanksgiving time. I was still in the hospital at that time. But backing up, absolutely, they were hitting a wall. They had no diagnosis. They knew something was up, they just didn't know what. So my tests were being sent all over the country to CDC as well. They could figure it out. Nobody could figure it out. Blood tests looked terrible. They knew that my organs were shutting down. I don't know how they knew that, but they had a sense. This was about 2 weeks into it. But the what happened as soon as I got into the hospital though, I was so lethargic. As you remember, I could barely even move my arm. So I was so lethargic. I'm a tall woman, and I was about weighing about 90 pounds, less than 90 pounds, because I couldn't eat anything. I was fully conscious, right? I was fully conscious, severe pains in the body. I cannot even describe it. Right from top of the head, all the way running down through the spinal column. Bombs of pain coming from the top, cervical spine C1 up, all the way down to the end where the coccyx is. I couldn't sleep most days. I was awake, but I just couldn't sleep because the pains were so debilitating and distracting. And I would have this nurse come in and she would say, I think you should sleep. You haven't slept in 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. And I couldn't sleep. And I was operating on something, but I was like a vegetable, so to speak. But my eyes were open, fully conscious. Just my body could not move. Any movement that I had was, a tour of the hospital. It was moving along in the gurney that they would take me from test to test to test, from one building to the next, just so I could get these tests done. MRI, CT scan, sonogram, you name it, every test. Um, I remember one time I was in the elevator and this physician who ended up being my attending physician, she wasn't at that time, she was just one of the physicians in the ED then. And she looked at me, I was in the elevator and she was in the elevator with me and she looked at me, she said, I don't know why, I'm just getting a very bad feeling about you. I'm just getting a bad feeling. I think we need to figure something out or else we'll lose you. So she seemed to have known something was up. And when she said that, it didn't feel like I didn't feel perturbed by it. I didn't feel worried. it just felt like what she was saying was the truth. It felt like the truth. It felt like she knows what she's talking about. But I didn't really have any indication that I had to doubt her. It just felt like, okay, whatever is happening. So here was what was happening was I was shifting from being the way that we are conditioned to being slowly shifting into what I always knew was true. Now I'm going to back up again. I'm going to take you back to my childhood. So I was very blessed to be born to parents who were older by age. And as a result, very mature, very loving. Wait, unconditionally loving.
Mm.
So something that is so hard for so many people. I've shared this story in public so many times and to one-on-one people as well. And they'll say, you have had a very unusual childhood. And perhaps I did. I feel so blessed because my parents are the best parents ever, the most wonderful, loving, and they listen to me. They listen to me. As a child, how few parents actually listen to their kids, right?
Right.
So, yeah. So, me as a younger child, I was always connected to something. I didn't know what it was. I always had I always had the ability to sort of sense people. I kind of knew something all the time about other people, about situations, just about life. And I thought everybody else could do the same because the truth of the matter is that they can, now that I know that, right? I thought everybody could do it. So, for example, if my parents and I were out somewhere, this was prior to my sister being born. My sister was born 8 years after I was born. So many years I was blessed to have them all to myself. And, we'd spend a lot of time together. We were always together. We spent a lot of time together. We were very warm and loving and close knit family. And I remember we were out somewhere and somebody said something to my parents. And I just kind of had a feeling that what was being said to them was not actually the truth. So I know later after they left and we were all heading back home, I said something to my parents. I said, that person who said that, I don't feel that that person was being completely truthful. So rather than discarding what I had said, they actually paid attention. They would pay attention. They say, really? Can you tell me more? And they weren't ridiculing me. They were actually embracing what I was saying and they were helping me sort of, deepen that ability that I obviously had from birth. I had the ability, and that's when I began to listen to it more. Because every single time I'd listen to it, Peggy, each and every single time, it was always accurate. Various times we'd have people come over to our house. My house was like a revolving door. My mother was the most amazing cook. She loved to cook, and my parents loved to entertain. And my mother would cook in these big vats every day. And I remember one time I walked up to her and said, Mom, who's coming over to our house today? Somebody's going to come. And that somebody, that was the truth. We always had lots of people at our home, always enjoying, eating my mom's amazing cooking. And so I'd be in the mix of these people all the time. And I could read them, I could feel them. And I would tell one time, I remember this aunt came over and I said to my mother, I pulled her aside actually. She was there in the house and I pulled her aside. I said, Mom, I need to say something to you. I pulled her aside and I told her, I said, something's up with this aunt. And she was one of my most favorite aunts. And I said, can you please ask her what's up? And my mother said, are you sure? I said, yes, I feel it. I feel like something is not right with this aunt. And she's putting up a smile, but I don't think she's really happy. Something has happened. Please, can you ask her? Because I used to feel for people like literally I could feel it. And my mother said to me, okay, I'm going to go ask her. And so she did. And when my aunt said to my mother, it's all good, it's all good. My mother said, no, I know it's not good. Can you tell me more? And then she broke down and she told her that something was happening, that she was being affected by in her home. So my mom comes back and says to me, how did you know this? And I said, I don't know, I just felt it. So I didn't know what that meant at that time. And I really thought everybody else could do it. So I just didn't think much about it, right? But later I found out as I moved to the United States and more this was happening. This was right after we got married too. I would know things about people. And I'd tell my husband and he'd say, what proof do you have? I didn't have any proof. I had no proof. So I would tell him, sorry, I have no proof, but I just know it. And
Right.
he would then later find out, oh, what I had told him actually was the truth. So things like that would happen, but it was just very, on a level that I think, so sort of on a more superficial level.
Uh-huh.
But what happened after my near-death experience, which I'm going to talk to you about in just a minute, it opened up something amazing, something that I don't think I could have done back then, or maybe if I could, I just didn't know I could, you know. So back, taking you back into the hospital now. So I was in the hospital, right? They know something was drastically wrong. They have no they have no prognosis. They have no diagnosis, and they have no prognosis. So they don't know what to do about me. So they know that the organs are shutting down. So remember, excruciating pains from the top of the head all the way down to the spinal column, base of it. Fever still pretty high. When they measured it, when they took a temperature at that time, they said you have 106 degrees temperature. Something is up. Well, they gave me medicines. They were trying to give me some medicines, maybe antibiotics, but it didn't do anything. They were able to get the fever down, but they couldn't take care of these other things. Like the pains kept happening. I still was feeling very lethargic. They just didn't know what was wrong with me. So eventually, what happened was they had 4 doctors on my case by that time. So this was, I'm talking about maybe more like week and a half into it. They kind of knew something was up, but they didn't know what. The doctors had a sense that my organs were shutting down. And they actually said that. They said, I think your organs are shutting down, which, as you know, is quite dangerous when that happens. It was closer to Thanksgiving, maybe about 2 days in before that. I'm laying in my bed one day, just lying down, no one's with me. Actually, let's go back a little bit before that, maybe 3, 4 days prior to that. So I wasn't allowed to have any visitors in my house, in my room, sorry, in my house, in my room. I wasn't able to have any visitors in my room at all. But 2 days prior to that, 3 days prior to that, my husband comes over. My husband used to come every day. He was allowed to come. Kids weren't allowed to come. But my son, my older son, has now pestered my husband, his dad, to say, I have to see mom. I have to see mom. You have to take me. So they come together to the hospital. I'm lying down, very sick, and very, in excruciating pain. Excruciating. I don't think I have words to describe how big the pain were. The pain was so bad. And my son walks into the door. He just looks at me, just like the other doctor did. He just looks at me. He doesn't even come in. He doesn't even come to me. Because I was looking probably so sick, pale. I'm sure I looked pale. I'm sure I had lost all color in my face. I'm sure I was just a, bag of bones. And he kind of knew. He runs out. He grabs his father's arm and he says, because only one person could have come in at one time when you're that sick. So my husband was standing out. My son comes in. He runs out. He runs to his dad and he says, come on, let's go. And they just go. I haven't seen my husband that day. They just like go off. And I hear this later. My husband says to me, he says, our son asked this question. He's about 10 years old 9 years old when he moved to the city, but 10 years old by the time this was happening. And he says, is mom going to die? And my husband didn't know the, the whole situation. He didn't know I was dying. He just knew I was so sick. He didn't know I was dying. So he says, oh no, honey, she's going to be fine. Mom's coming back home. He knew something was up. And then 3 days after that, I had this hospice chaplain come to the room. And she says, tell me your faith. What is your faith? And I said, I believe in God, please. When I saw her, and she, explained to me who she was, I knew something was happening. Because remember, when the doctor had seen me in the elevator, she'd already said, I feel like something is drastically wrong with you. So it felt right. It didn't feel like she was saying something that didn't, it resonated. I knew that she was right. When that hospice chaplain comes in and she says, tell me, can I say my last rites here? And I say, yes, go ahead, say your prayers. So she says these beautiful prayers right then and there. I'm in the hospital bed lying down, fully conscious. She says what she has to say and she's left. 3 or 4 hours after her coming and going, I feel something, just this. You remember I was describing how the pain was so intense?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I feel this calming sensation. So, all this time, this 2 weeks into the hospital, I'm feeling never okay, always lethargic, pains in the body, struggling, just like really feeling miserable. I didn't describe how miserable I was, very miserable. I would feel pain. This was the big thing that I didn't talk about, which I had an experience of prior to coming to the hospital. I had such excruciating pains in the side flank region. I didn't know what it was at that time, but I would be doubled over. I was like a jellyfish. I could not sit up like this. I couldn't sit up like that. I was like that. Remember when I mentioned that I collapsed to the ground? That
Yeah.
pain was so excruciating. Also, I just fell to the ground because I couldn't handle the pain. That was the spleen that had enlarged, which I didn't know at that time until much later. That was the spleen that had enlarged. I also had at that moment when it was happening, when I felt this beautiful experience that is just coming over me. I'm feeling something happening. Can't really put a finger on it at that time, but all of a sudden, those pains that I was experiencing vanished. And I felt this feeling, almost like this, as if, someone comes and drops water, like very, very calming water. I don't know how to describe it, but maybe like a waterfall. If, like, say, if you were sitting down below Niagara Falls, if you could ever do that, the water is just gushing, except the water would have been forceful. In this case, it was more like peaceful, peaceful kind of sensation coming right over me, right from the top of my scalp, coming all over me and stopping in my heart. And immediately I feel this something leaving my heart. Now, it's not a something, it's more like a spirit, more like a space that is just as if my heart has opened up, something has ejected from my heart, and it's taking me up somewhere. It's taking me up somewhere where I don't know. I'm just trusting it. There's this feeling of deepened trust in this moment and 100% surrender. If you know what that means. Surrendering, because remember, a few days ago, back in the elevator, that lady had said something, the doctor had said something. And then when the chaplain comes in and she says her prayers, remember, everything is sort of merging, as if that expansion is happening now. My heart is expanding. Something is ejecting from my heart, and I go up through the space into this nothingness. It seems like nothingness, but I'm thrust into white light. This white light is so immense. It feels like it's taken over everything. And at the same time, as if everything is happening at once, this is something I believe most people have talked about, those of us who've been through these experiences. Everything happens at once. So this is happening at one time. There's also the telemetry that I'm attached to. The heart monitor has already flatlined. Flatlined. I feel that. I see that monitor. I feel that monitor. Now, when I say as I'm shifting away, right, it's clearly not the body seeing it, it's something else. What is that something else? At that time, nothing was known. Something was leaving, feeling that heart monitor going flatlining, seeing the nurse's station, even though we were in the, well, we as in the body and the spirit is in the room, feeling the nurse's station where there's a lot of stir happening. And the doctor charges in to the room, two nurses running after her, rushing up to the heart monitor, messing with the telemetry right there. As the spirit is sort of elevating up, feeling, looking down, the sensation of looking down to the dead body, seeing the dead body on the hospital bed, seeing the nurses there, watching the doctor. Oxygen mask has suddenly shown up on the dead body. Can't feel it, right? If the spirit is leaving, not able to feel the dead body, except sees it, knows it, can feel it in there, right? And at that same moment, feeling that sensation of asking questions to the doctor and the nurses, talking, except they cannot hear it. The spirit is able to hear everything they are saying, feeling them, sensing them, their agony, their confusion, their loss, helplessness. Everything is felt from that space, and as if it's going into that light immediately, literally from here directly into that light. It may have taken a few seconds, I suppose. I don't know. But I just feeling that light. The light is just immense. It's bright, it's white, it's the brightest white that ever anything that I could have seen or I could have identified. It's just taken into that space, and instantly, you remember the pains I was having? Gone. No pain. Feeling unconditional love, the same unconditional love, kind of, times a million that I experienced in my childhood from my loving parents, adoring parents. Feeling that energy taking over the spirit, taking over that space, feeling that connection with all of humanity, all of nature, animals, plants, trees, plants, insects, birds, you name it, and that connection as if it's coming from some place and into this one space. That seed showing me seed, one seed, a seed through which everything comes in, goes out. This oneness space, the connection to everything, something we don't experience in this life, right? We feel this separation from everything and everybody all the time. We live life, we feel so separate from everybody. And that moment, all I could feel, see, sense was that connection to the divine, that divine's connection, that loving light, the loving energy. No pain, no suffering, yet the connection and deepening connection to everything. I also saw lights, like colors. And as an artist, I'm drawn by color. I just live life in a colorful state. You see this, right? There's a color everywhere. I see things like diamonds, like as if the cuts of a diamond, and you know how the light, when the light shines on it, you can see these multiple colors sort of dancing.
Uh-huh.
That's exactly what I experienced back there. That the light is there. The connection to the divine is so palpable. There's something that is happening clearly. That's something we don't experience when we're in the physical body. But that connection with everything is there. The connection was not just, plants and animals, insects and birds, but we're talking about even inanimate objects. Inanimate, like stones, rocks, even maybe man-made things. Whoever can know about man-made things, and man-made things have the same energy that we all have. So feeling all of this at that time, also experiencing that connection to my parents who lived in India at that time and my sister. They lived in India. So that ability for that spirit to sort of move, traverse between this world here in the US, this world here in the hospital room, and the same world that we're a part of in the US, but back home where my husband and my two kids laid asleep. This was happening in the middle of the night, maybe early morning. They were not around me. Nobody was there except the doctor and the two nurses. And just feeling that energy, right? Not wanting to go back down again. Not wanting to go back down again, but having the understanding if it could go, the spirit can travel to India and feel my parents and my sister who were completely in the dark. They had no idea how crazy the situation was, that I was about to die. They had no idea. But they knew, they were worried. They were concerned. They're calling all the time. They were concerned, but they just didn't know what was going on. And then my husband at home, pretty oblivious, he knew I was sick. He just didn't know I was dying because the doctors had not mentioned that to him. And then my kids, except my older son, who seemed to have had some inclination about that, as you know. So feeling everything, right? Yet not wanting to come back. At that point, not wanting to come back into that dead body. Seeing the dead body, and remembering the pain, remembering the suffering in that body, that was what made me just want to stay up there in that bubble, for lack of a better word, in the bubble of, unconditional love, unity, divine consciousness, or whatever you may call it. Just being in that light and being loved. I didn't have to do anything to be loving, to be receiving that love. Now, once again, you may wonder, but did she not experience love when she was alive, back in the body? I did. I was very blessed, to have that loving energy, loving feeling. But this was times a million. So, of course, I didn't want to come back in, right? This was like, I just wanted to be there. But eventually, I was shown these 6 images Three, my husband, my two kids, my mom, my dad, and my sister. They look like not figures, because obviously they're still alive, right? They look like holograms, if that makes sense. Like colors. Just like the diamond I described earlier, the cuts of the diamonds and colors just sort of glistening. The luminosity that is in the background, the luminosity of the white light, and in the middle and in the front is these lights were just shimmering and shining and just dancing. The dancing light, just took me in and showed me this six images, right? And I felt the love that they have toward that spirit, my spirit, that spirit, whatever spirit, some spirit, and the energy of love from the spirit emanating out into them. Something we don't always experience in life, right?
Right.
We don't see that. We don't see that amongst people. It's so superficial. It's so like it's just on a rudimentary level. We don't see that depth of it. But this is something I experienced, which just the light was just absolutely the brightest bright you've ever seen. I don't know how else to describe it. It is just luminosity and nothing else. And it just wanted me to stay there in a sense. And it never felt as if they were saying, you need to go back. But when I was shown these images, that's when it felt, the energy felt, it had to jump right back. And when it came back in with the force like that, it came back into the body. I actually felt something like the heart just like opened up again. It's almost like it opened up to release it, and it opened up to come back in. Coming back into the body, immediately I look up, and that doctor, the doctor who had run into the room, right? She's over my head, and she says, "Oh my gosh, you're here. We thought you were gone. We thought you were gone." And I look up at her and I start telling her what I saw. I didn't see any human figures there. I didn't see any ancestors. I didn't see anything. I just saw pure light, pure light. And that felt like something like God. It felt like God to me. It felt like God to me. It felt like this was it. But what I didn't share with you is when I went up there, it said, "You are home. You are home." And when I chose to come back in, this is almost like an echoing sound. "You are home and you will be healed." Not "you will be healed." I said "you will be healed," but "you are healed." You are healed. So when I come back in the body, you cannot imagine what happened. I get into the body, right? I feel as if I have this new domain to live in. The old body that is still lying in that hospital bed, devoid of the whatever it is that left the body, maybe soul. Now I know it's soul that comes back in again. Back into that body, it felt so different. It felt different, as in the pain had gone. There's no pain. Pain just vanished. I don't have that lethargy. Lethargy is gone. I feel so new, as if I'm an alien back into this world again. But it's this feeling of this proverbial blank slate, if you know what that means. Completely as if I'm cleansed. I feel that way. Imagine when you're suffering in the body and you're going through all these pains and aches. You're just feeling heavy and dense. Imagine if, in one fell swoop, everything is just flushed out of you, released out of you, coming back in new and light. That same light that I experienced out of the body comes back into my body. That same light comes in. I feel light. I feel amazing. And as I'm telling the doctor this whole story, she's looking at me and she says, "Oh, I'm so glad you're back. But we have some good news for you." "Oh, really? What's the good news?" And she says, "We've pulled in the fifth doctor on your case now." So they had there were four doctors up until that point, and then they pulled the fifth doctor into my case, apparently. And she says, "We know, I think, but I'm going to have her come and tell you what it is. We know what's up with you." So prior to that, they thought it was lymphoma or leukemia, which I didn't talk about earlier. When I had these things happening, they initially thought it was lymphoma, leukemia. I had to go through a bone marrow biopsy. And if you've ever been through one, or if you know of anybody who's been through one, it's one of the most painful tests ever, most excruciating tests ever. I went through all of that and they didn't find anything. So that was back before all of this happened. So she says, well, we pulled the fifth doctor in your case and she's going to come in a short while and see you. So as she walks into the door, she's beaming, she's smiling, and she says, okay, I think we know what's wrong with you. I said, oh, you have a verdict. Yes, we know what's wrong with you. You have this. And she just says this out. I say, sorry, what did you say? He said, you have hemophagocytic lymphohistiocytosis.
Oh.
Right? So I'm looking at her and I say, oh, Dr. B, are you sure I have this? And she says, yes, I have looked at your bone marrow biopsy. I looked at how the cells have been interacting there. But the biggest marker, which everybody else overlooked, is in your blood test. It's the ferritin. It's the dead blood cells, and it is in the outlier. That's the marker of this illness that I just told you about. She says your ferritin should be in the 200 range. It is 12,500. So she says this is a problem, and this is exactly the research area. She is a physician at our university hospital, which I didn't mention earlier, is that my husband, oversees the university and the hospital, and I was at that hospital, and she used to work. She worked in this hospital at that time, and she said, "I know exactly. I've been doing research on this specific area. It's very deadly. It's an autoimmune illness, and it shuts down your immune system. In fact, your immune system is hyper energized, and if something comes into the system, like a bacteria or something, it's going to attack it, but it's going to turn around and it comes and attacks you. And so your immune system is heavily compromised, which means we've got to put you right now through IV, intravenously, heavy doses of steroids." And all of this, Peggy, sounds to me like Greek to me. Because remember, I feel like an alien already coming into the body, feeling amazing.
Did you know what that great
Feeling
big
amazing.
long medical term meant? That big
I
word
didn't
you
know.
just
No, no,
said.
no. I did not know at that time. I
Uh-uh.
did not know what it meant. She just said it out. And when she said it out, though, this is the funny thing, is when she said it out, it didn't resonate. It didn't connect with me, if you know what that means. So it's almost like, say you have a computer and you put a new software into the computer, but even if you put a new software in the computer, it may not work. There's a disconnect because the hardware has to also change, right? So remember I said how when I came back in the body, the initial pains that I experienced then before, and the organ dysfunction, the organ failure rather, organ failure, pains in the body, everything had vanished. Fever, everything had vanished. So when I come back in the body from this beautiful trip, I come back in, something has changed. Clearly, something has changed in me. And I can feel it, but nobody else can, right? Because they see me as, oh, the body, because that's what people do. People look at each other as a body, right? But I'm coming in now as light, as I brought the light back into my body. So it's light. It doesn't feel like dense, heavy, that most of us feel our bodies to be. But when she says I have this big thing, hemophagocytic lymphohistiocytosis, I look at her and I'm like, I'm trying to make sense of it. Not that my brain is damaged or anything, it's perfectly working fine, but it just doesn't resonate. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't register. So she's speaking, but it's not making sense. But when she starts putting through IV these medicines in, that time something's happening. Because now I'm connected to this physical body that I'm back into, right? So it feels like something. And I'm trying to fight it. In fact, I even tell the doctors, I feel so energetic that I can just run a marathon right now. And she says, "Oh, you don't have to do that right now." I said, "I'm serious." I said, "I really want to just pull out these contraptions and run away because I was feeling amazing. I didn't feel this way before, right? 2 weeks, but 2 weeks into the hospital, but even 3 weeks prior to that. So 5 weeks of severe lethargy and pains. Imagine that. And then coming
They
to
had
this,
just told you you were a goner.
I was a
The
goner.
chaplain
Right.
come in, and what
Yeah.
strikes me interesting is that they never told your husband.
They didn't tell my husband. No, they
Isn't
didn't
that
tell him. He
something?
had no
Like,
idea.
wouldn't we
Yeah.
have a right? I've been through this with my
Yeah.
husband with his cancer,
Yeah.
and they told me after his surgery, oh, we didn't think he'd even live through the night to have the surgery. I'm like, why didn't anybody tell me? I could have had my family with me.
Yeah.
We could have been praying. Nobody told me. Wouldn't I have the right? Wouldn't he have the right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They knew, they thought that, all day at
Yes.
the emergency room from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. They did nothing for him and admitted him and then tell me that after, we didn't think he'd last through the night. And I thought, is that why you did nothing for him all day?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why? Like I'm thinking, why couldn't they told
Same.
your husband,
They
your
didn't tell my husband
family that did
anything.
not
No,
know?
no. My son is the only one, my 10-year-old was the only one who had a sense, as I mentioned
Right.
earlier. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
but it's not
he
like he was
knew.
informed.
Yeah, he wasn't informed. He had a sense, a sixth sense, and he was right. And when he told my husband, of course, my husband said, no, 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 mom's coming back. She's fine. Because he didn't know. He wasn't lying. He just didn't know. He didn't know how sick, because, he was in that frame, he was a single dad taking care of two kids, a little infant baby whom I was nursing. So it was very difficult for my husband. I think that's probably why the doctors didn't tell him anything. Perhaps that's why. I have a
But I mean,
feeling.
he's head of the hospital. You
Yeah,
would
yeah, at that
think,
time, yes.
you
It
would
was it was
think,
big. Yeah. And for them to know that something was up, right? And if I had not come back to tell the tale, imagine what kind of a job they would have had to mention this to my husband.
right?
Yeah, but by God's grace, that didn't happen, and
Yeah.
I'm back here again, right? So back here. So anyway, come back in. She tells me that I have this illness, and they're pumping me with through IV. They're pumping me prednisone and all this cyclosporin, these other things, and they say, well, when you go back home, we're not discharging you yet, but when you do go back home, you cannot cook, you cannot drive, you'll be in a bubble in your own house, you cannot be around your husband or your kids because your immune system is compromised badly. And this is a very deathly illness. Then they tell me that. They say it's a deathly illness. She says that it's very rare, very rare. Back then, 16 years ago, it was extremely rare. There were
Do you know if
very few
this is
cases.
anything like GBS?
What is
I
GPS?
know he's got to be that, and I cannot think right now what the that
Is it
stands
an
for.
autoimmune?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it sounds exactly what you're describing. The pain.
Okay.
My daughter-in-law had that when she was
Oh,
pregnant, 6 months pregnant for
oh
a
my.
girl.
Oh,
And exact same thing you're talking about, the pain and she almost died.
you almost died.
All of
Yeah.
her, all of
Yeah.
her, everything shut down, all her labs and everything,
Oh
in
my.
ICU, and I happened to be the only one there with her. And but yeah, they actually said you need to choose your life or the baby's life. And
Yeah.
she chose her
Oh,
baby. Luckily, they both lived.
oh,
Baby's only
thank
two
goodness.
pounds. Everybody said, "Oh,
Oh,
baby ain't
thank
gonna live." And I
goodness.
said, "Yes, she is. Don't say that." And she's like 9 years old now, and she's perfect. But yeah, and she walks with a cane, and she has issues, and
Oh,
but
I'm so sorry to hear
she was
that.
in a
Yeah.
wheelchair. She was completely paralyzed. She had the trach.
Paralyzed.
But it sounds so much like what you had, the whole
Yeah.
full body pain and just
Full
shutting
body
down.
pain, completely shut down. Yeah, everything, all the organs shut down. So I had my spleen, as I mentioned, the spleen had enlarged, spleen shut down, heart stopped, liver was not functioning, kidneys also not working right. So it was quite a bad situation. And when I come back in the body, also they tell me I have this big illness, right? And they're not hearing me when I tell them, but I'm feeling amazing. I'm feeling amazing, and I'm very profuse about it. I'm feeling amazing. They say, well, don't make light of it. We're serious. This is a deathly illness, and in the United States, majority of the people who have this, they actually die because the window is very short. It's like a 2-week window, and in the 2 weeks, if you're not diagnosed and treated correctly, you die. This illness also is more prevalent in kids than in adults. And the adults, she said she had a total of, she told me 10 cases all over the United States who were coming to her, who were
Oh,
her patients. And then she tells me this, and this is the scary part. She says, out of the 10 people, 5 are dead, 5 have died, 5 more are still there. And I say, seriously? She says, yes. She says, this is why you cannot make light of this. And this is why you cannot leave the hospital. This is why we need you here longer. And we need to do this right now. So they start this, pumping steroids into my body, high doses, very high doses, just to keep my body's immune system sort of in check because it was
Hmm.
going haywire.
Yeah.
And they had to tame it down, they had to temp it down. So I agree, but then again comes the lethargy through that, through the IV and through the meds that they're giving me into the system. I'm lethargic again. I'm back in the hospital bed, not feeling the best. I had felt good for a split second, maybe for 10 minutes, but then that was it. I was back in the hospital bed. I was back onto, medicines and all of this thing. And it was bad, but somehow, as I mentioned, I brought the light in with me.
Hmm.
Something had changed still. So even though I was taking those medicines, even though physically I wasn't feeling right, something was changing on a different level. And this is something I talk about more fully because this is something that exists. We as humans don't know that it does. So I oftentimes will talk about this very profusely about it. So while they were doing all of this on a physical level, I noticed that there was something that had opened up on a non-physical realm, different from so what we experience out of the body, right? That's non-physical. So it's because we have detached from the physical body and we go there. So when we come back in, something had clearly shifted in me. I just didn't know what that was at that time. So they did what they had to do, and I let them do it. Although the messages that were running through me, this was something that happened more pronounced after the near death experience, as opposed to, as I mentioned to you, as a child, I would know things. This was different than that. It just felt different. I can't tell you how. It
Did
just
this
felt different.
something feel like a higher intelligence, more insight?
Yes, I
Hmm.
think now I know that, but back then I didn't.
Right.
I knew something was different. I just didn't know what.
Right.
But I knew I had to listen to it. So it kept telling me something. And the something was stop these medicines. But I knew, Peggy, I knew if I'd said something, if I so much as even opened my mouth, I'd be shut down because the doctors wouldn't listen to me. Neither would my husband, right? He would not listen to me. Now that he knew that I almost died, actually I died and came back in again, he would never listen to, me wanting to not stop or to wanting to stop these medicines.
I
So
hear this
anyway,
a
thanks.
lot. I hear this a lot when we come back. We're hearing these voices. I don't
Yeah,
think we even realize it when we're telling our story.
yeah,
Something told me, I was told, and we just say
yeah,
it and keep going and don't even
yes.
stop and think, what is this
What is
something?
that? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely true. You're absolutely right. And so I had the same exact feeling, and I just kept quiet for the next 3, 4 days, and then I was very close to my actual birthday. My actual birthday is around the corner, and I told my doctor and the other doctor, the two doctors and the nurses, I said, you have to discharge me. You know, my birthday, my first birthday, my first birthday that I was born back, years and years ago, is coming up, and I really would like to go home for that. And with great reluctance, they let me go. They say, okay, but you have to promise me you will get a blood test, a blood draw done every week. You have to come in to the clinic to get intravenously get your medicine in until we move you to oral, which they did eventually.
Steroids.
Yeah, steroids. But they were doing it first through IV in the beginning because I
Yeah.
think they wanted a big gush of it to
Boost.
go just to shut down my immune system from overreacting. And I said, I'll do everything. I'll do everything. Hire somebody, hire a cook. I said yes to absolutely everything. I said yes, absolutely everything. And so I go home. I'm put in a bubble away from my parents. I mean, away from my, not parents, away from my, yes, parents too, because they're in India, but away from my husband and my kids. And I spend lots of time alone in that room because they're off to school and, you know, work and school, daycare. I'm by myself in the room in this bubble,
Which is what you
big large
needed
windows.
because you
Huh?
haven't had your, which is what you needed because you haven't had your meditation in 6 months.
Exactly. Exactly, Peggy. Exactly. This is how amazing the divine creates these scenarios for us, right?
Hmm.
Even though when people hear this story, they'll say something like, "Oh, I'm so sorry you had to go through such a harrowing experience. I'm so sorry you had to be put alone in a room for X amount of months." And I look at them and I say, "This was the best thing that could have happened to me."
Uh-huh. That's what
I
you
see the
needed.
beauty in it because I see the beauty in what just happened. The divine had a plan. And
It's like we find ourselves after an NDE.
exactly, we exactly find ourselves. And it took that time. It bought me that time. Just as you said earlier, it gave me the time to just be. Because remember, the prior life, the time prior to the NDE, was I was more of a doer because I was doing too much for everybody, right?
Your life was running you. You weren't running
Yes,
your life.
yes, there you go. It was like being a clay in a potter's wheel, a
Mhm.
clump of clay if you've ever done
A
pottery
mouse in a
on a
wheel.
wheel. Yeah, it's like moving like that. My life was moving like that,
Yeah.
right? And now it was almost like this experienced potter, God, the biggest potter, coming and holding that clump of clay in this, you know, just keeping it calm, peaceful. You just have to be my child. That's all I kept hearing.
And that's what we are when we're in the white light. We're
Exactly.
just our
Held.
soul. And I think we don't realize that we crave that
We crave
again.
that.
And we have
Yes.
to have it when we're alone
Yes.
or creative or
Yeah.
something.
Something. Exactly right. And you mentioned creativity, and that's exactly what happened. That gave me the space to simply just be. First, it was be. And I didn't know what was happening to me at that time, but I trusted. What was the biggest, the part that is the most unique experience I had from coming back home in the body, but coming home again, back to my physical home in this three-dimensional realm, laying down, not knowing what was going on, but not feeling as if I was missing something in the outside world. That was pronounced. Imagine if you, Peggy, are asked to be away from everybody's society and be in a room with nothing around you. I had a computer. I hardly sent emails to somebody, people. Um, I have books, but I hardly read. I didn't want to do anything to distract myself. So those months of being in solitary confinement, so to speak, not really, but
I love
kind of.
solitary confinement.
It was lovely to be
You,
there. It's just to be. And that's when I discovered, and something I didn't share about coming back into the body at the hospital too. There used to be a window there at that hospital. And I'd look out, even though I was lethargic after they started pumping me with medicines. I'd look outside. The green looked greener than green had ever looked,
mhm,
if that
mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah, it
Maybe I'm
does.
talking gibberish,
It
but
no, it
it looked
does.
so amazingly green, vibrant, luminous, as if something was just glistening. And I felt the same green when I came back home into that room, that bubble that I was talking about. That room also had large windows and also a door that led to the deck, which I couldn't ever use because I was so lethargic being on this medicines. I was so lethargic, and
I think it's
all I
like
did is
those
go to
eyes
sleep.
that you saw on the other side of the white light and all that color and
Yeah.
there was dancing and everything.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
like when we come back and we start to like get that time alone or
Yeah.
and you kind of get a taste of it again in the on
Exactly.
life.
Yes, yes. Everything seemed brighter. Even the walls of the hospital room that I was in seemed
Uh-huh.
brighter. Imagine that, right? So I come back home saying, everything seems brighter, everything feels different, everything seems lighter. Um, and as if I'm able to sort of feel the trees more, feeling nature more, just feeling, sensing, not just everything around me, but feeling, sensing when my husband would come home from work. Randomly, I'd say something, just not thinking, but just like saying something. And he'd say, "Oh, somebody I met today said exactly this." Or my son would come home from daycare or school and I just blurt out something. Like he'd say, I just randomly say a person's name. I didn't know what I was saying, just coming out. He'd say, "Oh, yeah, I actually hung out quite a bit with this one." Or I'd say, "How was your pepperoni pizza?" He'd like, "Wait, how do you know I had pepperoni pizza?" I didn't know. I didn't
I
know. I
think
would just say it
yeah, it's
out.
like, you were in this like all knowing, all one, whatever you call it, this consciousness where you were
Yes.
India and you were at the home seeing your husband
Yeah.
and kids sleeping and you saw the nurses and doctors. It's like that little, not little, but that consciousness
Yeah.
that is bigger than what we had before,
Yeah.
it's still somewhere there.
It's there. Yes, it's there. And exactly, it's there, but we haven't contacted it. Most people haven't contacted it. For
Mhm.
me, I had to leave this, get out of this body and go into that lovely light and feel that love and feel the pain-free existence and healed experience and being home. To come back to experience the same thing in within, just what you said,
Mhm.
it exists. We just don't know it does.
Mhm.
Most people have no clue. Everything that I'm going to share with you today, if somebody can listen to it and take this experience of what I'm sharing and take it back within, everything that has happened to me and countless other people who've had NDEs exists for everybody out there.
Yeah.
That's what I do in my work,
And
is to
so many
teach them that.
people, especially nowadays, oh, they're talking politics or they're talking this, and it's like, stop. Why
Right.
are you spending energy on that?
Yes, yes,
There's
yes.
so much more.
It's too much noise and distraction, and a lot of
Yeah, get
people
that
tend
away
to
from
just go
me.
there. Yeah, it's just like, you know, let that be. Bring your awareness within yourself. There's a universe outside. There's a bigger universe inside. I tell them all the time, come in, come join me in this club. It's a beautiful place to be. But Peggy, it took me some time to get to that place, to understand these messages as they were flowing, and the mission that I had in this lifetime, that was really revealed from that experience. Because up until that time, again, I'm going to go back before, as I mentioned, I was working at the university, so I did that work. I also I was an artist, so I'm a trained artist, which I may or may not have mentioned, but I'm a trained artist, a commercial artist, watercolorist. I come from a family of musicians and artists, world renowned, and so I was exposed to all of this at a young age. So that's what I did in my first career. Then I have a business degree as well, and all of that. And I've done work with IT consulting and higher education and freelancing and art, designer. And so I have a very eclectic background. But what happened when I came back in the body, and during those months of just being by myself and meditating so many hours. Well, I mentioned earlier that I could barely even get 2 hours to meditate. Now I was meditating 8 hours. And I loved every minute of it because it didn't feel like that old kind of meditation, the TM that I mentioned. This was like I would close my eyes. I could not ever meditate like that old way ever again. I'd close my eyes and I'd feel this same white light coming through, running through my body all the time. And this didn't happen only when I was meditating, by the way. This was happening all the time. Also, I would feel intense hot in the body. So I was always feeling hot in the body. And I remember one of those days, I asked my husband as he came to see me in the evening when he came back from work. I looked at him and I said, "Do you have a thermometer?" He's like, "Yes." "Could you just check my temperature?" And he'd be like, "Okay." So he did. Normal, normal body temperature. I said, "Are you sure that the thermometer is working?" He's like, "Yes." Why? Well, I'm burning up inside. But it's funny that that the thermometer wasn't catching it. I'd have home nurses coming home. I would have people, because I was also asked to take a shot in my stomach, a
Oh,
subcutaneous shot that was targeting a particular cell in the body that was, responsible for this full blown, this illness. And so I was doing this every day. I had to do it once a day, every day. So I'd have these nurses coming over to administer that shot in me and just to check me out. I was also going through physical therapy while I was in the hospital too, but also here. Because imagine, it felt like this entire body was like a spaceship that had been shut down and now had to be restarted. So to get it kick-started again, they had to make things refunction again. So I had to, learn how to swallow because everything had shut down, right? Swallow, then walk, move muscles in specific ways. I used to go for physical therapy all the time. Um, Slowly introducing foods into my body just to make sure that I'm okay with it. I didn't have any dietary restrictions or anything. It's all fine, but just generally things were clunky. It felt clunky. It just felt like this body I have, and it seems like my own body, maybe incarnating back in the same, but something just didn't feel right. It's almost like I had to readjust in my body. So I had all of these things going on at that time, and the doctor would come in, and I'd get these messages all the time, which was a repetitive message, which was stop taking these medicines.
Mhm.
So this was about right away when I came
Those
back in the
voices
body.
again. No.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
But it was not like a voice. It didn't sound like me, by the way.
Right.
So when people have asked me, does it sound like you speaking? No, it doesn't seem like me speaking. It's
Hmm.
almost like a knowing.
Right.
So it's not a voice. It's not as if, I'm talking to you. It's almost like the message is marrying into my thoughts. It's almost like it's merging into my thoughts.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
It's
Yes.
almost like it's a thought, but it's no more now my thought from the mind, but it's a thought that is coming from something else or somewhere else. I
No,
didn't know what
how
it
I
was.
learned to distinguish it from my own thoughts is
Mhm.
I catch myself arguing with it.
Yes, there you go.
Do you?
That's it.
I
No, I,
argue
I
with
never
it.
argue. No, I never.
Oh,
So
okay.
I learned
I
quickly
do.
as a
I,
child.
I don't want to
Yes.
do that, or I don't like,
Yeah,
wait a minute.
that's your
What's
mind.
coming in that's not me for me to
Yep.
argue? It's not something I want.
Yes.
It's coming from, so I've learned
It's
to
coming from a
not
some, yeah.
argue, to listen and cherish.
Exactly. Exactly. The more we listen, so I was listening all the time. And so then somewhere into a few months into it, I kept every day, not every day, every week, I would go to the phlebotomist to draw my blood as she had told me to do. I do everything she told me. I had help, I had everything. I wasn't doing anything. I was like a queen, just relaxing, resting, being. That's the big thing, being and meditating many, many hours. And the meditation, I thought it was meditation, honestly. It's not. Now I know it's not, but it's not. At that time, I thought it was. I'd lay down, I'd close my eyes, I'd feel this light just washing, gently washing over me, coming over. And then it would go to, I would know things about myself first. That was the big thing, is I knew something about myself every day. It would show me the spleen. It would bring the awareness, as if, remember when we were kids, we'd go to a doctor and the doctor would say, okay, stick your tongue out. We'd do, ah, and then he'd put a flashlight into your mouth to sort of see, he could see or she could see something better. It's almost like that. So the white light served like a flashlight, as if it is going to a specific organ. I'd say the spleen. It would go in there, and rather than it telling me something about it, it would go in there, I'd feel that vibration, and then it would just go flat. It went on for months, from organ to organ. Then it would go into the heart, and it would tell me stuff about me, things that I had to really work through, but not that I had to work through it. It, the energies had to do something through that body, through that space, to eradicate something that was held in these areas. So heart stopped, remember, spleen was not working, all these other organs. So it was kind of going in those places. And I just knew something was happening. I just didn't know quite what was happening. I knew something was happening. I trusted it. I believed it. And when the messages would come through about myself or about other people, about my husband, if he's going through a difficult thing at work, I would know it before he would come home and tell me. And I'd say something and just like blurt it out. He'd be like, I was just about to tell you that. Or something about my son or anybody else. It first started happening to the people closest to me. So as I was doing better and better and better, my blood values were actually like a yo-yo. Even through the medicines, they were fluctuating. I mean, my platelets were never right. I was always lethargic because I was always lying down. It was even a difficult experience for me to go from my room to the restroom, and the restroom was inside my room. Taking a few steps was challenging for me. I was that lethargic. The same old lethargy returned again. But I would keep getting those messages, which was, please stop the medicines. So I went twice to the doctor. I said it twice to my husband, and he said, first time, he said, see, you're very sick. You really need to just take it. I know it's it's challenging for you. I know you don't like to, because I had become big. So imagine taking high doses of steroids. I had gained a lot of weight that didn't seem natural, seemed unnatural,
Did you get
like a moon
angry with the
phase. Hmm?
steroids? Did you get angry with it taking
I didn't
steroids?
get angry. No, I
Yeah.
didn't get angry. I was very calm and I was very trusting. I didn't have any of those issues, but I was very hungry all the time. And
I've
which is
taken them for
unusual for
asthma
me.
in the past.
You've taken
Yeah.
it before? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and I
you know what
gained
that
weight.
feeling
It's
is.
always
It's like,
hungry. Yeah.
yeah, you'll eat the whole house. Like, you can eat anything. So I had that happening to me. I had hair on my face. And one day I remember my 10-year-old comes to me, says, Mom, you're growing a beard. And I was like, I've got to stop it. Time out. Now I have to figure out a way to get my doctor to like stop me. But I'm kidding, but in all seriousness, it was less about what he said. It's more about the voices or the messages that were coming to me that was repeatedly saying, I think you should stop it. I think you should stop it. I think you should stop it. And then the third time I went to the doctor and I told her, I said, twice I've asked you and you have, not agreed with me. But now I'm just going to use my patient rights because I have them
Mm,
and I'm going to use it. But actually, I really want you to partner with me because I'm not the kind of person that I'm just going to go and do something else. I'd rather you come with me on this. So would you just humor me? Let's say 2 months post weaning. So now I'm taking, so by this time, I'd shifted away from the IV and more orally. I was taking oral pills. And I told her, I said, I know how to wean myself and I can do it perfectly. I'll do it myself, but I really want you to partner with me. So will you please humor me? And we'll do it like this. If you're okay with it, 2 months post weaning. So not that I'm weaning now that I'm going to stop, but 2 months post weaning, then the time clock starts from that time on. 2 months after that, if my blood values, I'll keep going on for blood tests. I won't stop that. But 2 months post weaning, if my blood values do not come back to normal, then I'll let you put me back on it and I'll continue to go to blood tests again. She says, fine, you have a deal. Okay, great. I come back home. I start, cutting down those meds. 2 months post weaning. Guess what happens? My blood values have returned back to normal better than before. And I say, look. And she says, oh, it's just a fluke. It sometimes happens like that.
mhm.
You need to keep,
We
you need to
went
keep
through
going.
this too with cancer. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they want what's best for you, right? They know it from all of those, you know, they have their protocols and they have their, cases that they've studied and they know how the behavior is and they want what's best for you. I get that. But something had changed in me, right? After this experience. This energy was becoming like my best friend. And I just knew that this energy was sort of the overarching, superseding everything. And I knew at that time I had to listen to this.
Mhm.
So when I come back home, I'm just feeling more and more normal. I'm feeling more as if all of that lethargy that had come on from that medicine, had just sort of as if I'm slowly weaning from it. I'm slowly returning. My energy is coming back. I'm feeling better. The weight is still there, and it took a while actually for that weight to go away.
Right.
But I was just feeling more myself. I just felt better. And by, my husband would say, I go to all of these events. You should come with me. I'd love for you to go with me for all these events. And I'd go. The first time I went, you might find this very interesting. The first time I went with him for an event, lots of people. It was at the convention center. There were lots of people there. And I come in there and I'm actually feeling everybody. You remember how
Yes.
when they would come home, I'd feel this?
Yeah.
Feeling them. It was a lot. I'd feel
It's
everything, like
overwhelming.
overwhelming, right? You know what this feels like. At that time, I would feel like I should just walk up to somebody and say something like, one time I walked up to somebody and he said, do you have lung issues? She said, look at me. She
Aren't
said,
we weird?
what? What? I said, I'm sorry, but I felt that I was saying something I shouldn't be
Uh-huh.
saying. But I knew that. I knew it. And I felt I had to say it. So I just would go randomly and say things like, do you have an issue with your liver? Like, You mean like chicken liver? No, talk about your liver. No. But what was happening, Peggy, is I was able to feel, see, sense things before they would occur in the person's body.
Huh.
6 months, 8 months, 1 year before. It's almost like I could feel it. Lung issue, liver issue. Somebody, we were invited, my husband and I, we were in New York. We were at someone's house and they were hosting a gathering, a fundraiser at their house. And we were there. We got there a little earlier before before the other guests showed up, and we were there. And I walk into this person's house. He opens the door, and all of a sudden, I feel my knee,
I know that's
my
how it
right knee.
happens, isn't it?
Yeah, it suddenly came on me,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
I
walked up
get
and I
it.
looked at him and I said, "Can I ask you something?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you have like chronic knee issues?" Looks at me shocked. He says, "Yes." I just could feel it.
Huh,
And my husband's like, "You just walked up to him and he said that." I said, "I can feel it in my body. I know it."
huh,
And he said, "Yes." I said, "Okay." I said, "It's bad, right? How do you know?" You know, he was shocked. "How do you
uh-huh.
know?" And he says, "Okay, tell me which knee, right or left?" So I know exactly which knee it is. So I just walk up and say, I tap his knee and says, "Right here." He says, "Oh my gosh, how did you know that?" And he runs up to my husband. He says, "Your wife just walked up to me, blah, blah, blah." And my husband says, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. This is all, we know this. This is nothing new. She knows this stuff, right?" So I would go to these events and I'd feel like, somebody, like an argument, this person was in a specific argument. I knew what you know, the matter was, what was the argument about, things like that. It was just like bombarding me. So after a point, I would tell my husband is, "I don't want to go out anymore. I just love being in my safe space here." I was trying to figure out, how do I even manage all of
Does
this?
it cause you anxiety?
Not anymore. No.
Okay. Did it in
And
the
at that time,
beginning?
it didn't either. It didn't at that time
Okay,
either.
it
But
never
what
did.
happened
Okay.
was, it was almost like I didn't know if I should like walk up to somebody and say it,
Uh-huh.
because I know it's true. I know it's true. It's showing up in my body. I know it's true. But I didn't know at that time whether I could actually, should I be saying it out to people or not? But when
Yeah,
I
because
came
if I
home,
don't do it, I have a
mhm.
lot of anxiety
Oh, you
until
do?
I do it. But if I
Yeah.
like, no, 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 don't do that, don't say that, I
Yeah.
got a lot of anxiety.
Right, right, right. So for me, I had to come back, back to me, back home, and I tell him, "You go, I'm not coming," because it had to sort of settle into me, this ability that now this is the work I do now full time. This had to sort of settle into me to a place where I didn't have to, or I wasn't tasked to tell everybody everything I knew. In the beginning, I didn't know that. I just thought that because it's coming to me, I just have to go say it out.
Right.
And I did. And I didn't know if I should or shouldn't, but I would come back home and I didn't want to be around too many people. It was sort of reorganizing my body. I think it was sort of showing me, my capabilities, but it also showing me what my work was going to be about. I didn't know. At this time, all of this was happening, Peggy. I didn't know why this was happening, but I just trusted it. See, I thought that other people could do it back when I was a child, but
Mhm.
then everybody couldn't either. And this time I knew that this was something unusual. So, other than my parents and my husband and my kids, I actually didn't tell anybody I could do this, other than the people that had experienced my work from having me, go tell them, which were quite a few at that time. Maybe like, I don't know, 50, 60 people had already, gone and given them my reading. But I think they must have wondered how I knew it. And they didn't know I was so sick. They knew I was sick. They didn't know I had died. So none of these people knew. So at that time, at this point of time, I hadn't really shared the story with anybody else. Okay. So then what happens is, I'm going to fast forward. So I'm going to fast forward. So my blood values have come back to normal. So this is the place where blood values have come back to normal. I'm feeling well. I'm going out in the community. I still have the weight on my body, but I'm normal. So I'm living life normally. Colors come back on my skin. I'm feeling more energetic. All of these good things are happening in the moment I stopped these medicines, and 2 months post weaning, all of these good things are happening. a few months down the road, I think it was maybe 2, 3 months after that time when I actually stopped everything. And by the way, I never went back to it after that. I was able to convince the doctor that I'll keep going to to get my blood draw. And if there's a problem, then you can put me back on the medicines. But I didn't have to. And energies that told me you won't ever have to go back on it again, at least now. You're fine. So anyway, fast forward now. So one time, so I'm an artist. So what I didn't share with you before is that I used to show my work in galleries, like all these many years, all. So even when we moved to the city, um, I had artwork on walls of various galleries and nonprofit organizations and things like that. So my work was out and about. Somebody had seen my work at some gallery, and she reached out to my husband, and because she knew him and she knew she could reach out to him. She reached out to him and she said, "If I invite your wife out for lunch, I want to buy some of her work. Maybe I even want to have it get commissioned by her. Do you think she'd go out for lunch with me?" He said, "Of course. She's very social. She'll go with you. Yeah." So anyway, so I go out with this woman for lunch with fully knowing that she's going to be wanting to buy my artwork, either outright buy it or commission me for something. As we're eating lunch, and she says, "So you know why you're here, right? I'm so interested. I love your art." Because by that time I was all, which I didn't share earlier, is when I was homebound, you know, and away, when I stopped taking the medicines and I was recovering in that 2 month period, was recovering, I got back into art because the energy told me I had to. I had to go back into painting, which I had stopped, right? Because back 6 months when I was busy with this new life in Richmond here, so busy, I just couldn't do anything. Like I was so, uh, sort of spread so thin. I didn't have the bandwidth. I didn't have the space or the time to pull out my paints and start painting. But now that I had all this time downtime for myself, energy told me I had to go back to painting, so I did. So the way I was painting and the way I was having these shows and painting was different than the way I had painted before. But nonetheless, she liked the art. And so I get this message that says right there, in there, it says to me, "Don't tell her about your art. Tell her about your story." Now, Peggy, I had not shared this story with anybody outside of my home, outside of my home people. So when I get this message, what am I going to do? I'm going to listen to it, right?
Right.
Because I know that I
You
have to
have
just
to.
listen, blindly listen,
Yes.
trust it and listen. So I looked at her, I said, "Listen," I said, "I know you're here for something, but may I please share my story with you?" And she says, "Sure." And I tell her the whole story. I tell her everything that I just shared with y'all. I tell her everything. And she pauses. She says, "And you healed 100%. I said, "I healed 100%. With no meds." I said, "Yes, I stopped my medicines and I completely healed." And she says, "Oh my gosh, Monica, this is a story of hope. Have you shared this story publicly?" And I look at her, I say, "Why would anybody want to hear the story publicly?"
Mhm.
And she said, "You'll be surprised. You know how many people are so sick and they have such poor prognosis? What you're sharing with me is a story of hope. And I think people out there need to hear that you healed 100% after you stopped the medicines." I didn't do anything, right? I didn't take any supplements. I didn't take anything. I just stopped it. Everything I stopped. I just
But
trusted, right?
but people get so worried
Yeah.
when, oh no, don't tell people go off their medicines. You're going
Yeah.
to get sued.
Yeah.
Don't say that. I mean, it's like
Yes.
fact.
It's a big no-no. It's a big
Yeah.
no-no, right? But for me, because I experienced that energy out of the body and coming back in, it's almost like I knew that it was correct.
I
I knew
know.
that everybody was going to say something different, but I had to. The energies told me that I knew the truth. I was fed the truth and I had to just trust it. So imagine I was like a sticking out like a sore thumb. Imagine. And it's not my personality to be a rebel, but I guess people would look at me like, "Oh, she's a rebel." I didn't want to be a rebel. I just trusted the energies more than anything else on this earth. If I told my parents that, they 100% would have said, "Just take the medicines," because that's the only way you're going to be
Right.
living. Because they had told me these are like, this is like you're on a ventilator. If you take this, you're like, it's like a ventilator, because if you stop you from this, you may die again. Because that's what they know. I mean, they have those cases, right? And they're
Yeah.
going by the cases that they know about. And they're not saying it to cause me grief or trouble. They're coming at it from the right perspective. But they can't see what I can see now. I'm seeing it from a totally different perspective. And the energies, and I believe, I trust, it's almost like I've surrendered to the energies.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to listen to that. I'm just going to listen to that.
Yeah.
So when they told me that, I had to go against my husband, because he didn't say anything other than he said, I just hope that you'll be okay. I know I'll be okay. I feel it in my gut that when I
It's
stop the
like, do you
medicine, I'll be
listen
okay.
to the brain, all the
No.
intelligence, or do you listen
Uh-uh.
to your heart and what you
Heart,
know?
heart. That's what I
It's
was
like we
listening.
have this,
Yeah.
teeter-totter, which way we
Yes.
going? And you
Exactly.
keep saying the word trust, and that's a huge word because it changes everything once you
Yeah.
trust yourself
Trust. You
and this
trust.
knowing
Yes.
that you're getting.
Exactly right,
It's like you
Peggy.
get
You're
into a
absolutely right.
flow state.
Yes, you go to a totally true flow state, and nothing that you know before, that you ever knew before. Remember when I told you when I came back in the body, it was almost like this proverbial blank slate, is what I said to you.
Hmm.
That's what it is. The old stuff went away. So it didn't ever feel like to me, and even it doesn't even today, this tug of war, what you just mentioned, brain versus heart, head versus heart. That tussle that I might have had before, when I came back in the body, that just went away.
It's like
The
your
mind.
heart was even way back there. It wasn't even, it was
Yeah.
like do, 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 do. The all the physical world and all the all those things. I did them too when I was young. I mean,
Yes.
this and this and this
Yes. Too
and
much.
all this that I have now is like something
Yeah.
that was way back in there, hidden
Hidden.
for later.
Yes. Hidden. Hidden. And for some, I work with people, so I know for some, it never comes out. But
Right.
when they do this work with me, what happens is their ability to feel it. There's so many now that have done this work for years, and they are now able to tap into that energy too. I'll talk more about it, and I'm going to talk about it definitely. But um, so as I'm here with this woman, I'm telling her the story of my near-death experience, and she's telling me, "You've got to share this with people publicly." So remember the art thing that we talked about in that lunch meeting. There was no more conversation about the art. She got so pulled into this work, and she said, "I'm going to put you in touch with two people." And I said, because when she said, "I think you should talk about this publicly," and I said, "How do I go about doing that?" "Let me put you in touch with two different people." The first person she says, "I'm going to put you in touch with," she says, "Go meet with him at such and such a time." And I do. I tell him the story, and he says, "Oh my gosh, you'll be a great motivational speaker." And when he says that, nothing wrong in being a motivation speaker, but it doesn't sit right in me for some reason. It just doesn't. Because there's a different purpose. And my purpose, you know, was about to be revealed. So back
Because
when I
it's
came
not
back in the
about
body,
us.
it's not
It
about
seems like
us. It's not about
motivational
me.
speaker is like about, we think of it as about us, an ego or I don't
Something.
know. I don't know. Yeah, that
Something. It just
word. I
didn't
don't know
sit
what
right.
it
It didn't
is.
sit right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get
It
it.
did not sit right with me at that time. And you know, so I leave. I thank him for his time and I leave. And then she says, "Now go speak to this other person." And I go to this other person and he says, "I have 10 minutes. I'm rushing into a board meeting. Come and tell me what you have to tell me." So I'm speed talking really fast. And I tell him my story. I tell him my near death experience. I tell him that I had meditated years prior. I was a deep meditator, all of this. And he says, "Okay, so have you been meditating more than 20 years?" I said, "Yes, more than 20 years." So he says, "What are you doing next month?" And he gives me the date. And he said, I look at him, I say, "What do you want me to do next month?" And I smile. And he says, "We're having a annual retreat at this such and such resort. And I would love for you to come and teach my stressed out bunch of CEOs how to meditate. They have so much stress." And then I get this message quickly that says, "Say yes." This is how the energies speak to me, like that. "Say yes." I look at him and say, "Yes, I'll do it." Just that same excited tone. "Yes, I'll do it." And he says, "Awesome. What are you going to charge?" I said, I don't know. I don't know what to charge you. I have no idea. And then you say, just go do it. So I say, just put me up, put me up in a hotel, and how long is this conference, and all the details. So he says, it's a 3-day conference. It's here. You need to come, and we'll take care of all your expenses and everything. Should you just come and work with my CEOs? So I go there. I have no idea how to teach meditation. So I've been meditating myself. I have no clue. The energies, I tell the energies, you've asked me to say yes. I guess you're going to help me with that. I'm just going to trust that it's going. I go with no notes, nothing. I just walk in, no notes or anything. And these CEOs are sitting there on these round tables. It's a conference. And they have these concurrent sessions. So they're off doing something fun, I suppose. Most of them are out wine tasting or biking or whatever else, right? So I have about 15, 20 people here, not too many people. So I come there and I tell them my story. At first I share my story. That's what I've asked to do. I've been asked to do, to share my story. And after that, I sit on the floor. They're sitting up top on these round big tables, and I'm sitting on the floor. I've been asked to sit on the floor. Energies tell me, go sit on the floor, sit like this, do that. And the words are coming out of my mouth. I'm just like literally just speaking. There's no thinking here. Because remember, I had no notes, no script, nothing. I just walk in there. And stuff is just coming out of my mouth. It's a meditation of sorts, or so I think. I think it's a meditation at that point, because that's what he had hired me to do, right? He asked me to come and do that. So say, okay, sure. So I'm going there, I'm on the floor. At the end of hour and a half or something, I wake up, I get up. And I look around the room, there's this level of peace on their face. Like literally the stress that they had before had vanished. One by one, these people were coming to me and saying things like, this one woman said, she was actually sobbing, a catharsis. And that's what happened there, catharsis. And she said, the minute you started speaking and saying to us, bring your awareness here, bring your awareness there, we started feeling vibrations in the body. The body became hot, body became cold. Now, Peggy, till that time, I didn't know that this would happen to other people. Remember I mentioned to you when I came back in the body, I felt that? I felt hot in the body, cold in the body, vibrations as the energies would show me, go to the spleen, it would go and just do something. Suddenly my body would become hot. And remember I mentioned how I asked my husband to check my, temperature. Body was hot. So I thought it was just me, that I was feeling it. Something was wrong. Maybe something is happening to me, not to somebody else. But when they said that at that event, this woman burst out crying and she said, I've been a horrible mother. I've been a horrible wife. I've been a horrible daughter. I've been a horrible
Oh my.
employer. She's CEO of a company. She says, and you are like divine intervention. And she said, I knew I had to come to you. In fact, she said, I signed up for the wine tasting, but at the last minute, I changed my mind and I came to you. I don't know why I came to you, right? So she starts having this experience, and then there's another woman who actually had sutures on her feet, and I couldn't see it because she was seated when I came into the room. She had sutures on her feet, and she comes running toward me, and she starts stamping her foot. She says, look, look, look. And I look at her, I said, oh, what happened to you? And she says, I had foot surgery. I have surgery, I have sutures on my feet. I've got to go and remove it soon. But she said, I was in so much of pain when I came here. What have you done? The pain's gone. You won't believe this, Peggy. I look at her and this other woman, and there was another man who also told me something else. And I'm looking at them, and I'm looking at the rest of the team there, the rest of the group there. They're all peaceful, they're calm. And I'm wondering, something just happened. What happened? I know I didn't do anything. I know that for a fact I didn't do anything. Something had happened. I felt like I was on an operating table, lying down and under anesthesia. And the physician, the surgeon, is doing what he has to do on me. I don't have my mind working, operating, so I can't tell him what he should do or not do. I'm just like that, in full trust, in full surrender. And that's all that happened that I know of. Words were coming out of my mouth. I was saying something clearly. My body was getting hot. My body was getting cold. Suddenly, I'd feel vibrations in the body, tingling sensations. I had no idea So this is something that others would feel. And when they said that they felt it, the next 2.5 days that I was there, they were referring to me as healer. And I would look at them and I'd be like, what? Some of them said, can I hug you? Can I hug you? I say, sure, because I'm a hugger. I love hugging people. Sure, yes. So I was, because I grew up in that environment, very loving environment. So I'm a very much of a hugger and love to, you know, show that emotion, be affectionate to people and things like that. So I hugged everybody there, everybody who was in that group. And the next 2.5 days, they were referring to me as healer. And I called up my husband. I said, I don't know what's happening. Something was happening. I don't know what it is. That was the first time that I knew something was happening. Something was happening outside of me. Up until that time, I had no idea. None. None. I knew it was happening to me, but I thought it was something like my secret. Something was happening to me that it wasn't meant to be shared. But when I came back home after those 3 days, my phone was burning up. I was getting calls. I don't know if these people were, sending messages out to people, but maybe it was just how it was meant to be. That was a turning point when I understood for myself that there's something that was happening beyond me, that the energies were doing something, that the light was doing something in me. And my phone went crazy, and people would call me and say, I have end stage cancer. Can you help me? I have AFib, atrial fibrillation. Can you help me? I have Parkinson's disease. Can you help me? I have multiple sclerosis. Can you help me? I have anxiety. Can you help me? I have panic attacks. Can you help me? I have an eating disorder. I have an addiction to drugs. I have an addiction to alcohol. I was in a traumatic situation. I was raped, or I'm dealing with grief because my son, young child, just passed away. Things like that. So endless. So there's no limitation on what this work can or cannot do. It's across the board. So I have lots of CEOs that work with me because intuitively I can tell things. I can feel energetic blocks in people, and those blocks prevent them from leading their best lives. Energetic blocks. I can feel even sometimes it shows up like a movie. I can see things from their childhood, specific, but not the whole childhood, like pivotal points, years where something occurred that changed them. And by virtue of changing them, how they started to live life from that skewed state, right? Or anything else that they are dealing with coming from their mind. You talked about the mind earlier, the brain earlier. Fears, anxieties, jealousy, pains, anything like that, guilt, imposter syndrome, self-doubt, whatever it might be. They're living life from that state and expecting that everything should be okay on the outside. So these are the kinds of people that usually work with me. So I work with kids, I work with adults, I work with dogs, uh, plants, I mean, anything. So everything is fair game.
Do you do
CEOs,
this over
physicians.
Zoom or in person
Mhm.
or?
I do it over Zoom because I have a growing international clientele. I have a lot of people from overseas. I can do it on Zoom. I can also do it while they're sleeping. This is very popular, by the way. It's known as while you sleep sessions. And I do them, I don't have to know who they are. I don't even have to have an image of them. I just need to know their first name, last name, and the location of where they are.
And what do
So
you
I'll
do
also,
then?
I just close my eyes and I can feel them. I can sense them. Energies do everything, right? So they're showing it to me. Energies, the divine knows everybody and everything because everything in the end is all energy, right? I mean, your thoughts are energies. Your
Right.
body is an energy, solidified. Yeah. So, and everything that runs around is also energy. So, energy is everywhere, basically. So, when we're able to tap into that energy, now again, I've never learned this from anybody, as you know, no licenses or anything, but these energies kind of do the work. I've given up my body like a vessel for it, that energy to something, for it to just run through my body, and it does. And for example, I'll just give you a quick example. About a few years ago, 4 years ago, actually, I know that it's 4 years because the person sent me this child's fourth year birthday picture. And so this baby was about a week old in um, in Bristol. In Bristol is in England, right? Yeah. So in Bristol, and not in the U.S., so out of the U.S. And that child's grandmother was a very, very, very close friend of my client. So the client reaches out to me and says, my best friend's grandchild may not make it. He's a week old. He's already had 7 heart surgeries,
Mm.
and he's in a very precarious condition. And the only person I can think about is you. That's what I do. I work with people in hospitals and things like that. So I said, sure, no problem. It's 12 in the midnight. And I said, yes, I can do it. No worries. Never seen, I just had that person's first name, the baby's first name, last name, and the location of the hospital. That's all I need to know. Location of the hospital. And I channeled energy for this child at that time. I did it twice. So I did it once that day. And then 2 days later, she said, can you do it again? I said, yes, I did it again the second time, second session. And the baby recovered, completely recovered. And now I get every year birthday, I get, pictures of from this client of mine who is the best friend of the grandmother of the child, he is thriving. This is what she wrote. She wrote me a text saying, this baby is thriving, doing so well, and we can't thank you enough. Thank you for that. So I'm not saying necessarily that, but he was in a very precarious condition, and the energies were right there supporting him, and he recovered, and he's really doing well. But I can do work with just about any situation. So physically, in person, I have people that come from far away just to be in my space, but I tell them, you don't have to. Don't take the trouble. You're already quite sick. We can work on Zoom. It works on Zoom. It works even when they're not on Zoom. And I think what the biggest, the biggest part of my work, the tenets of my work, is really about the continuing. So the healing, the physical healing is one aspect of what I do, but the bulk of the clients that come to me also are here because they are coming for spiritual growth. So that's what I do, because the energies are always showing people what are those lessons that you're here to learn. When we go through life here on this planet, on this earth, bad situations, good situations, whatever it might be, specifically bad situations. So we go through, say, abuse, or we go through, somebody is not treating us right. We look at it as a, as if it's hurting us, as if it's something that is very negative, and we take it like that very personally. We as the mind tends to do that. The mind is akin to the ego. The ego and the mind are together, and it always brings out the worst in us. It always shows up as, see, this is who you are, see, and it's showing up all the negative things. And those people look at life from that kind of a lens that has been under some type of a filter, and it's not the truth. It's not the real. It's not the clear glass. So when I'm looking and working with clients and they're dealing with life like that, we're able to see, the energy is able to see what's happening in their spaces, also in their energetic spaces. So we have these, you might have heard of chakras. The chakras are, you know what chakras are? Chakras are
Yeah.
energetic centers. And those energetic centers are just one piece of the pie. It's not the whole pie. People think, oh, my chakras are balanced, so I should be great. Even if your chakras are balanced, you may not be okay, because the chakras go in and out. They open and they close. It's like a door. It can open and it can close. To keep the chakra always open, there are many things we'd have to do really to live from outside of the mind and live from the heart. If you can live all the time from the heart, if everybody can live from the heart, our chakras will all remain open, because the mind keeps it closed. The mind keeps us, because the mind is constantly keeping us in a state of separation from one another and separation from within. So, most people, when they live life, right? Let's say, if somebody's doing really well in their career, let's say, there's always a sensation of competition, isn't there? Everybody wants to compete against one another. And if someone's doing well, they want to pull that other person down so that they can go up. So I coach clients. I say, well, if someone's doing well, it's great, because that means you're doing well. Could you look at yourself as an extension of others? The energy that I have that energy within me. But the way I see it, this is how I can do this work, is I see this energy, not just mine. I see this energy as it's a communal energy. It's everybody's energies, right? So therefore, if I'm me, while I may have my individuality, I may have specific gifts that are very unique to me. It doesn't mean that you or others don't have that, not that same one, but some other gift that is yet waiting to be unleashed. So in my work, those that are working with me, they experience this firsthand where we're able to pull out those layers that are these conditionings that each one, me included, had been through. Conditionings that come and crowd against the essence of who we are. And this essence of who we are, most people never ever connect to. But by the grace of the divine, I became so attuned to it. And I live life from that state day in and day out. So this energy is always communicating with me. It's like my PA. I joke with it sometimes. You're like my personal assistant, always with me. Never leaves my space, never leaves me alone, ever. Like always holding me. And as I work with this energy, as we work to it together, and we collaboratively work together with clients and others, even with my family members, they always are spot on accurate. It's never incorrect, right? And it helps people to really find who they are. Wait, not find, remember who they are. Remembering who you are and living life from a space of being, not doing. Again, I was prey to that as well, as I mentioned. I did so many things before, right? And while my resume looks amazing to some people, here was my life completely topsy turvy. And a lot of people are there where I was. So I can easily feel that. And when I sense that in others, I think it helps them because they're like, yeah, you were me at some point. Yes, exactly. I did too much. I didn't pay attention to myself. I didn't, so all the things that I did not do now, right? So it's when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. So now I know better. And so from this vantage point, just from my own experiences as a near-death experience survivor, and all of the amazing things that have come from that, and they continue to come, it doesn't ever stop. I live it. I live this life day in and day out. So living life from a state of vitality, excellent health, joy, peace, and really being connected to my essence. I think that's the best way to live our lives. These experiences we've been through, like the NDE and others, they're important. But what has changed in my story is that it doesn't define me. Yes, I had my illness and I'm 100% recovered from it because I chose not to be stuck in that rut. Many a times we get stuck there. We don't know that there's a way out of it. Many times I joke with clients, they'll say, Monica, I really want to be like you because you're here living life with us and you're breaking rules. And I looked at one person one time and I said, wait, that's not the whole truth. I'm not breaking rules. I'm not playing that game. I'm not playing that game. So I can live this way because I'm not playing that game. And once we begin to understand that we all don't have to play that game, the game of the three-dimensional world, it's a game. I look at it like that. So it's easy for me to shut that down. So even when I'm out with people, and people ask me this all the time, you're out and about with so many people because of the nature of your husband's job. You're out there with so many people. How do you remain so peaceful and calm? How can you stay so peaceful and calm? And that's because I know how to, energies can just literally, I'm physically there, but I'm not there. I mean, I'm listening to everything. I haven't, ignored anybody. I'm there, very much there. The difference between them is they're letting all these things sort of shake them, shift them, whereas I am in that state, grounded and balanced. So I'm not moving, I'm not shifting, I'm not like oscillating as life goes up and down. If this happens and that happens, we've been in crazy situations. I'll have to tell you some of these situations after our talk here, but quite, horrific situations we've been in. And I don't feel perturbed by it, I feel like, God and the divine is here. It knows what's best. My worrying about it is not going to change the outcome, right? So I just have to be. The being is the only way I know how to be. It's just to stay this way.
Did you go back to working at the
I did.
university?
I
Like
did.
back in
So
all those
no,
clubs
no,
and
no. I didn't start working at the university. I stopped. I actually quit my job. So thank you for reminding me. I quit my job 3 months, 4 months into when I was still at home recovering. I decided to resign and I resigned. And then what happened was, as I was getting better and as I was heading out and going out into the community, um, something told me, now, this is where the mind kicked in. It wasn't my heart, it was my mind that said, try to do something you've never done before. And I told my husband, I said, I think I want to do something I've never done before. So he said, so what's that? And I said, I don't know. It's going to tell me. And then it didn't tell me. And my husband said, like what? And I said, I don't know, like maybe, and this is an area, by the way, this is so funny. I am terrible at it. I'm not good at it at all. IT is not my field. I don't understand a thing about it. And I said, I think I want to work in an IT consulting company. And he said, you want to do what? And I said, yes, I want to try something I've never done before. I don't want to sit at home anymore. I'm an energetic person. I just don't want to be homebound. I'm going out in the community. I'm doing all of these wonderful things and, meaning wonderful things, meaning I love going out. I love being, social and all of that. I just need to do something different. So he says, okay, I get a job at an IT consulting company. Just like I said, I wanted to do, as the saying goes, I tell this to clients all the time. It's this ask and what did the genie say? Make a wish
Oh,
and your wish will be granted. It happens to me all the time. I just say I want to do something, it just arrives, it just shows up. So I'm working here at an IT consulting company. It's going great. I'm loving it. I'm learning because this is something that's, I'm not made for that, but I start learning it and it's energizing me. It's making me feel, wow, I can actually do this thing, something different. As the year is coming to a close, I'm doing really well, I'm ascending. Year is coming to a close, and they had told me that with this disease, right, with this illness, you will have a relapse in 1 year.
mm,
1 year has passed, there's no sign of relapse. So 1 year, 2 months into it, and I'm at home sitting. Suddenly, I know when this illness comes about again. Suddenly, I
yeah.
feel this lethargy. It's taken me from nowhere. And I tell my husband, come on, let's go. Let's go to the emergency room right now. What I didn't share with you as a child, though, I hardly ever went to the hospital. I hardly went to the doctors. If I was not feeling well, my mother would cook up something, like herbs. She'd cook up herbs and give me stuff, and I'd get better. So we didn't go much to doctors, and I just wasn't too much into it as a child. Even, I mean, if there's something massive, then I would go, but not for small things. But for me, so I, so for me to say to my husband, "Come on, take me," that was like, "You're really sick, aren't you?" I said, "I am. Let's go." So I go to the doctor, and then I'm back in the ICU. But
Oh,
this time, no NDE. I've not had an NDE the second time. This is the first time I've had it. I come back. I'm back on those steroids for a while. I'm back on those subcutaneous shots that are getting sent into my body, and all of this is happening. But it lasts only for a few months, and then I'm out of it again. I'm back to normal business as usual. But by that time, I had already quit working at the IT consulting. So I had already
oh,
finished close to a year, and I stopped working. And when I was homebound again, saying, I started painting. I was painting quite a bit. I was creating art a lot, and I had created a body of work enough to have a show. So, I was doing that, and it felt good. It felt normal. But then about in 2014, so about a year, 2 years into it, 2 years into it, I get this very strong message that I have to start a business in the field of art first. It says it's going to evolve, but you start with art. So I incorporate the company. It's Graphoria that I'll be talking about soon. Graphoria. I start Graphoria, and the word Graphoria came about by two big words. One is graphics, because that's my previous training, and euphoria from my near-death experience where I felt euphoria out of the body, no pain, right? In the euphoric state. So I wanted to know, I was told that I had to merge these two words together to create the name of the company. So Graphoria is the name of my company. Initially started off with creating art and selling my art on the website. But then as I started, I went out and did this presentation to the CEOs, right? When I came back, this business just, this practice actually just ballooned out. I just wasn't thinking. I didn't get up one day say, hey, I want to be a healer, or I want to be a meditation coach. Nothing. It just fell on my lap. I knew I had to do it. And I just trusted. I just did it. I surrendered. I said, okay, so I'm going to be seeing, or I was seeing, or I'm seeing people from morning till night. People are just coming. There are no ads anywhere. I don't have anything on my website. My website until that point just had my story of my near-death experience was in there, but it didn't have anything about, even till today, if you go to the website, it'll just say I meditate, that I'm a meditator. It doesn't say anything about this thing, because I didn't know at that time that this thing would open up or something like this would happen. So anyway, the business was going on with the art thing, and I was doing that for a while. And then when this opened up, 2014 is around the time I started understanding that something else was happening to me beyond what's happening to me, that it's actually going to other people. And it went on for a while. And of course, 2014, 2015 is around the time that I started all of this work full time as a quote unquote healer, transformative coach, or whatever people call me. I've been still doing it. I still do it. I do it all day long, all night long. People from all over show up, and I just love it. I love it because so much of what comes to me is actually the truth. It's the truth. And it's actually helping people. It's really helping people to open up their spaces. And it's beautiful to see them transform. That's the best thing. That's the best reward that I can have. It's so gratifying to see that, people are ready to indulge in their own growth and their own ascension. That's when they show up. They show up and they're ready. And they'll stay for years. I have clients who, the same people, have been with me for 7 years, 8 years, every week. The reason for that is because they are here for their spiritual growth. And when they're doing the spiritual growth, the understanding is not that it's just on a spiritual level, it's a sacred space between us. It's about how we weave that in to our day-to-day existence. So we live life from that state, not as how meditation is usually reviewed. It's something I do at a specific time, and then I forget about it, and I'm back to my business as usual old ways. Whereas this work is about helping each individual shifting from the old ways of thinking, feeling, being to this other way. This other way is not a new way, really. It's really the old way, oldest way, how we are meant to be, how the divine created us to be. Living life from a state of faith, trust, deep belief, grounding, balance, harmony. That's who we are. And everything else will be revealed to us. Just like we feel these energies coming to us and telling us these things. Someone asked me, oh, it's because it's you. You have this ability. You're just chosen to do this. And I say, it may appear like that because you're looking at it from a perspective of your brain, of your mind. It's like being in a building. This is a very good analogy. I give this to everybody. So being in a tall building. Imagine if there's a building with 200 floors. Peggy, you're on floor number 2, and I'm on floor number 200. We're in the same building, same space. We enter the building to the same entrance. We exit to the same exit. We go into the same elevator. But what I see from the 200th floor and what you see from the second floor, aren't these two different things? Don't I see from the 200th floor, I'll see dots for cars. I may see a dot, I may not. I may see something. I don't see trees like you see on the second floor. You see trees that are big and large. I see ice from the 200th floor, I'll see dots, the green dots. Another analogy might be is you might be in a tunnel and I'm outside and I'm telling you about the beautiful, gorgeous blue sky that I'm seeing up there and the clouds that are fluffy white, like candy, like cotton candy up there, but it's white in color. And you're in a tunnel and all you see is darkness. And I say, oh, Peggy, you got to come out here. It's beautiful. Look at all this. Look at the bright green trees. You see the blue grass. You see the green grass. You see the blue sky. You see these birds. You see the wings of the birds. And you can see their feathers glistening and beautiful colors. And you're like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You're saying that to me because you're in the tunnel and you see only darkness, right? And perhaps you see few cars in front of you. What do you see? You see light? I see darkness. That's the biggest difference. When people see their lives, right? They come and they're in a rut. They're stuck in a rut. When CEOs come, leaders come working with me, they are faced with massive problems, vexing problems. And I look at them and I feel what they're seeing, feeling. And from this vantage point, I don't see it. Come this way. Let me show you. Let's help you navigate those issues. What seems to be like massive problems for you, they're not problems. It's because you're seeing it from that vantage point. It appears like problems. Just like when we look at people when they're sick, right? We have cancer. A lot of my clients are those that have end stage cancer, who've been given months to live. They come at it from that point of, I'm going to die. They've told me I'm going to die. They think that everything, no hopes are gone. And I tell them, come on, let me show you this other way. Come here, let's go here. And we show you this other way of doing it. We're not really focusing on the illness. If I focus on my illness, I'm going to stay sick. If I focus on my problems, I'm going to see more problems. If I focus on solutions, solutions show up. If I focus on what is, not what appears to be, what is, big difference. Did you know, Peggy, we are meant to live life in a state of peace and harmony and no illness. Did you know that your body has a natural healing ability? Nobody allows that to happen because we don't know what will happen if we allow it to be there. Let it be. So oftentimes, for me personally, that's what I say to myself, let it be. If I have a problem in my system, right, I'll let it be. I'll let the energies do the work. When the energies come and do it, it's the best outcome than I can ever have imagined. If I go and noodle it in or do something or try to do something else. So this is my personal experience. I have had this experience time and time and time again. Left the doctors baffled. My case, the first NDE, near-death experience, sits in the university medical school, right now under internal medicine. And they're studying the case and they call it miracle case. Because most people die from this illness. And very few people, if they did come back to life again, you'd have to go through a stem cell transplant to survive. I didn't have to do anything. I just trusted the divine energies. The energies did it for me. So eternally grateful to the energies. And I couldn't do this work if those energies did not come at that pivotal point and show me what they had to show me, and then letting me just trust it. Just letting me
Now,
trust it.
the steroids, does that help you when you get like this again, when you have a relapse? You were
So
very sick and
yeah, they think that it does. And I allowed them to do it because in the beginning, like I said, I had no choice. When I was in the hospital, if you're in the hospital, you have no choice. You are doing what they're asking you to do. If I didn't go, let's say I chose not to go. I told my husband, take me in. But let's say if I hadn't said that and I was homebound, I think that the energies could have done something else. I feel that because now when it does it to other people, when the energies work on other people, when they work with me, we see a different outcome. But many of them, Peggy, will also do it simultaneously with chemotherapy, with radiation, with with other immunotherapy or something else. They do it as a maintenance dose and they ask me about it. Can I just do it? I say, yes, of course, do it. I'm not going to ask you to not do it. I'm not an MD. But I will say for myself, I can make my choice, right? But I can't tell you or you or you. But absolutely, sometimes I have clients who will tell me they've been going through chemotherapy, it's not working on them. That's when they start working with me and it starts working. Because the body's, so this is the thing, the body's natural space is to heal. God didn't create us to be sick all the time. We have to heal, right? We are here to heal and be completely healed, to live life in a state of joy, vitality, excellent health, love, unconditional love. That is who we are.
How does
As
I can imagine the conversations you must have with your husband because he's, you know, at least was at one point over this hospital, and then he's head of the
the
university and
university, yeah.
the medical and research and everything.
Yes.
And you're just like, let it be. And how's this work between you two?
Very good question. So, uh, back, let's say 16 years ago, he wasn't so, not that he was open, he didn't understand it. Let's say he didn't understand. Now, he's my biggest supporter. He adores this work. He comes, so I do these global Zooms, which is every month I offer four um, group healing sessions for people around the globe. It's US and around the globe. And people jump onto that. He doesn't miss a single one. He'll come to every one of them. And what happens in those sessions, they're fun. We it's very engaging and very interactive. So everybody speaks and talks, and also again, I can allow the energies to sort of share what it is that is happening in them in their lives, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, all lives, all parts of them. And then we get them to a state of like a meditative state, basically. So basically, energies will come through my body and just calm them down,
Is he
simply
on the
calm them
screen
down.
with you when you do this? He's just out
Mhm.
there somewhere.
He's somewhere else. He's somewhere
Okay. Okay.
else on his own phone or his
Okay.
own computer.
Okay.
Everybody else is on their computer or on their screen in other parts of the world, wherever they may be. Um, and then I channel. The channel means I let these energies inform me through what comes out of my mouth. That's what channeling is. I don't know what I'm saying, basically. So people will say stuff like this. They'll say, your voice changes. You don't sound like you. Your accent goes away, or your accent will sound like this or like that, or something like that. It just changes. I know it changes because my body also, I probably talk too fast, or I talk too slow. It's a combination. You probably, if you watch this episode again, you probably may feel I'm talking too fast sometimes and too slow sometimes else, because it's the energies that are sort of making me say these things to you. That's also very normal and natural. I do podcasts, but also I get interviewed, part of the radio show that I told you about. Um, I don't have any notes with me. I just go blank, and the energies will just feed me what I have to say. And
So
so
you're
it
picking up whoever is there
Mhm.
on Zoom, whatever's going on.
Exactly. I'm picking up whatever's happening to them or whatever the blocks are, or I'll say something and then later they'll text me and say, you said this, and did you know it was me? And obviously at that time it tells me who it is, but I don't say it out because it's a public group. But they'll say, you said this, and this is exactly what I'm going through right now. Or they'll say, you mentioned a pain in the left thumb, and that is me. Or they'll say, you mentioned somebody has a problem in their L5. That was me. So I'll say stuff out. And someone in that group is having some issue in that specific area. Or I'll say something like somebody's organ, I'll outline it. I'll say it's your kidney. Your kidney is, somebody here has a problem with their
You want to
kidney.
say
Things
hi?
like that.
Come say hi. This is my husband, Jim.
Hi.
Hi, Jim.
He
How
can't
are
see your
you?
face. There you are.
Amazing. I read your story and I'm so impressed with how well you're doing. That's awesome.
Yeah, doing
Yeah, and
good.
you have a lovely wife.
Yes, I do.
Yes. Oh, you- so lovely. I enjoyed reading that story very much. Yeah. So yes. So what else can I tell you?
I don't know. Um, I'm sure you probably sent me links for the
Have I?
people to. If you haven't,
Podcast
send
haven't
me a
sent
link
you?
so I can
I'll
put it in
send
the
you.
description.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. So I have so much. I don't know where to even begin. You have the Natasha Williams one. You can use that if you want. I'll send you a couple more.
Yeah, like
I'll send
people,
you a few
like you
more.
have a website where people can join these that you're talking about. Do you have
Yeah,
a
but
book? Have you
well,
written your
the
book or?
website is very unmanaged. It's old. I've not done anything to it.
Okay,
It doesn't really have my global Zoom messages information there. So far, the way I've been doing it is it's on a listserv basis. So if I meet somebody in the community and I talk about this and they say, put me on the list, I send out emails, but I probably should be putting something on the website. I just haven't had the time to do it, but I think I will.
okay,
What else did you ask me about? Book. Well, I've written one. Energies told me I have to speak first before I publish that. The
okay,
book is done. It's written,
okay.
but it's sitting on the back burner. It's sitting right there. Um,
So are you still on the faculty? I know you went back, but did you stay or no, you're done?
I quit. I quit it in the first year. I quit it. Um, let's say 2 months after I came out. So when I started healing, around the time I stopped it. I knew I had to stop it. I knew that my life, the way it was unsustainable, and I couldn't live that life again. So it's not as insanely crazy. I mean, it's busy, but it's very flexible now. Then I didn't know I could, say no. I struggled with that, and that was really I had a hard time saying no. I was on so many boards. I used to be on 8, 9 different boards, nonprofit boards. My whole life, I've been on so many boards. But after my near-death experience, and I was on a couple more, I was sort of, petering out of that. I'm on 0 boards. I get asked all the time.
Good,
I say no, and I love saying no now. I
good.
used to struggle saying no before, and now I just say no all the time. I
Okay,
say no first, and I say, can I think about it? And if I feel like it resonates, then I'll say yes. But I usually say no because I my time is very precious now.
yeah.
And even the people that I want to, so sometimes I'll have like 3 or 4 events to go to in one night. Someone wants us here, someone wants us there. My friends want me here, another friend wants me here. I just wait until the energies tell me where I should go. So these energies are like literally, I don't do anything without their, you know, oversight. And some
What do
people
you
tell me
think,
this,
what do you
huh?
think they are, these
It's a
energies?
very high vibrating energy. It's like it's God's energy. I know it. And the reason I know it is because I'll tell you this, and you know, I'll tell you this if you want to put it in the video, you can, or you don't have to. But basically, when I came back, there are many things I haven't shared in my story. There's so many more things. It's in my book, but I haven't shared it out in any podcast. But I'll tell you because I think you'll understand this. When I came back in my body, right after that moment, and I came back in the body, I used to see, like in the hospital too, I would see this image of a, now, what you don't know, but you will see this. I've said this in other podcasts. People have asked me these questions. They'll say things like, what was your faith before, like as a child? What did you believe in? You're Hindu, right? I said, yes, I'm Hindu, but Hinduism is more of a lifestyle than it's religion. So, while my mother was big into rituals and going to the temple and all this, I used to go to the temple, but it never felt, I mean, like the idol worship. So we in our Indian culture, we believe in idols, and there are many, and they'll say we have many gods. You know, they're actually apparitions of God. They're like, avatars of gods, but God is just one, right? But they look like gods. But in Indian community, in our culture, we say there are many gods. So I remember this is a story, and this is actually one of the podcasts. I can show you, I can send you that podcast if you want. But if you want to put this in, you can. Basically, this is a true story and an amazing story, really. I was little. I must have been like 5, 7. I don't even remember how old I was. I was small. I was young. And I was walking, and I was very, as I said, for 8 years of my life, I was a single child. So I was very happy being with my two adoring parents. My sister joined later, and she's also amazing and loving, but lovely and loving. But I was alone for a good many years, and I was holding my dad's hand and walking down the street. Far in the corner, I saw this rock. It was a rock, just a rock, but a lot of garlands were put on that rock. And we were coming back from somewhere, I don't remember. And I looked at my dad and I said, all these people are like gathered up there. It's just a stone, it's just a rock. It's just like a, nondescript rock. And there are garlands put on it. People are like falling on it. And there was a lady who was like profusely, like she was not screaming, but she was, so it was almost like exalting. She was saying something like, if you come and pray in the native language, she was saying, if you come and pray to the stone and you can't have a child, you'll get a child. Then she said that she was deemed to not have children at all. Then she prayed to that stone and she suddenly became pregnant and she has a child. So she was screaming. She was just saying this out loudly with full emotion. And as a child, it touched me. And I felt, it really touched me. So I said to my dad, I didn't talk to her, but I said to my dad, I said, why is she saying all of this? It's a stone. It's like a rock on the road, right? She's not going to a temple, because by that time I used to go to the temple when my mother would ask me to go. I'd go with her. And I said, so what's going on here? Why is she doing this? And my dad gave me the most amazing answer. And that answer, it makes perfect sense now, and more so after my near-death experience. He said this. He said, she firmly believes in that stone. So I said, but is that God? Why is she, she believes, who is she believing in, or what is she believing in? I asked this. I said, what is she believing in? And he says, she's believing in God. So I said, so God's in the stone? The God's in that rock? And he says, yeah. So I said, oh, God's in that rock. Because I'm a child, I'm trying to make sense, right? So God is in that rock, yes. So then I'm a very playful child. As a kid, I was very playful. And I said, oh, so is God in this tree? He says, yes. I said, is God in this plant? Yes. Is God in that stray dog? There's a stray dog there. So is God in that dog? He says, yes. I said, is God in you? He says, yes. I said, is God in me? He says, yes. So I said, so God is everywhere. He said, exactly, God is everywhere. So I said, so why do we have to go to a temple then? So I can go pray anywhere, right? He said, exactly, you don't have to go to a temple. So that was where I was exposed to it. So I believed in that God, it was something that was everywhere. So I said, so is God's not a person, right? He said, no, God's not a person. So I said, so what is it? He said, God is energy. But it didn't make sense. It didn't register. I just knew that it's something like it's everywhere, because he's saying it's in the plant. He's saying it's in the, it's in him. It's in me. It's in the dog. It's in the tree. It's in the stone. It's in the ocean. It's in the river. So his explanation of that made it so clear to me that it's something that is everywhere, but not
I'm
knowing
sorry, I
what it
have
is.
to ask, these people coming to you, would you not say it's in you? It's
I do
everywhere.
say that.
You don't need to come to me. You have
I
the
say
same
that.
powers I do. Okay.
Yeah. I say that. It's like God's in you. I say God's in you, and I say, but the thing is, you don't know it. So let me open it up for you. So it's like it's in you, but for someone to get the only way. So Peggy, this is the thing. The only way somebody can understand God, and I understood that from my experience, right, is when you get out of the mind. Because when you're in the mind, you cannot see God. So, in Christianity and Catholicism, they say what? They say, don't follow Satan, follow God. So what is Satan? Satan's not really a thing. Satan's your mind. And I tell them that because I've actually been hired by a church. I did a 2-hour retreat for women in the church. Can you believe it? That a church hired me to come in? But they did. They hired me to come in, and I spent 2 hours, and I told them about my NDE. I shared my story. I did a healing on them. They were so open because I told them the same thing. I said, God lives in you as God lives in me. Doesn't make me any special than you are. But what is different in me that has happened to me that yet has to happen to you, and it's going to happen to you the minute you shift from your mind hold and you shift from the mind to the heart, that is when you're going to be able to connect with God, the God that lives in you. Most people, they go to the church, they pray. It's like, and praying is not wrong. It's not bad, it's not wrong, it's right. But you can look at prayer like this, as if you're picking up the phone and I'm calling Peggy. I'm picking up the phone and calling you, but it's a one-way street. I cannot hear what you're saying to me. I'm only speaking to you. Say, thank you, Peggy, for XYZ. Thank you, Peggy, for this and that. Or, Peggy, can you make this happen? Peggy, can you make sure I get an A in my math test tomorrow? Or can you make sure that my
Nope.
blood report looks amazing? Like that. So
Yeah.
so so praying is kind of like that. It's like you're talking to God. This work is different, wherein you're not talking to God. God is, you're listening to the messages that come to you. That is no, that we all have this, right? It's this inner inbuilt system, guidance system we all have within ourselves. It is this GPS we all have within ourselves, but very few people know how to connect with that GPS system. So, what I do in my work is to help them connect to that part of them that has shut down. That's it. What else do I do? I cannot go in and change anything because I'm here, they're there. I'm simply helping them see what they cannot see within themselves. That's all. My work is all about that. It's
Do
about
you
showing
think
them that.
this work that you call, or study of NDEs into people's, I don't know, not ability, after NDE, but that openness, whatever that word, is this ever, do you think, your husband being, with the university, is
Mhm.
this ever going to be able to put in any kind of a learning environment?
So there are universities out there that are doing specific research, like UVA is doing specific research in the NDE space. I went there a few years ago. It was just pre-COVID. Spent about the first morning with Dr. Grayson, who has written numerous books. He's a very reputed researcher, and he also started the IANS, and so they are doing some groundbreaking work in the NDE space. There may be other universities like University of Michigan, and there's another one, University of Minnesota. I know about these other universities that are doing work in this area, in the mind, body, spirit space. But I think UVA is probably at the top of the list that is doing great work. And I think there's more, and thanks to Dr. Grayson, there's so much more awareness about NDEs. And I think that's infiltrating into hospitals more and other places. But there are some universities that seem to be more open than some. So,
It just
that's
seems to
that.
me like all the research and all the, it all comes down to, for me, a bunch of hoopla, like a bunch of parapsychology stories. I mean, we just want to talk about the NDE stories, and like we're stuck there. And then
Yeah.
there's so much of, oh, keep God out of it. And then there's others that's, oh, only listen to me because like I'm the next Messiah and the end is coming, and buy
Mhm.
my book so you'll know what's coming. And
Yeah.
then we got people doing NDEs, and then they're mixing the UFO and the Bigfoot and the all kinds of ET stuff in. And I feel like NDEs have just got smeared
Hmm.
and
Washed
not
away.
being taken
Yeah.
seriously. Like I feel that there is, I know there's a lot, I don't know nothing about the quantum physics, the quantum entanglement, but it seems like that is touching more on to what I think NDEs where they need to be headed than a lot of the actual NDE podcasts and research and university classes but I think they don't know it yet. That's just my take.
Yeah, so I think there is going to be more opening and openness about these things. About 16 years ago when this happened to me first, I didn't share it with anybody, as I mentioned, but then later I started sharing it with people. And even when I shared it up until even 3, 4 years back, most people would look at me as if either I'm making it up or I'm nuts. So I think that's why you'll find that NDEers tend to hang together in packs and not really sharing so much. But I have been very vocal about it because energies have told me I have to. Because I have to be more vocal about these things. And I talk about it very openly about not just the NDE. So my work is really NDE with a twist because most NDEers don't have this experience. And this is something Dr. Grayson actually told me when I went to meet with them. I said, Dr. Grayson, have you had anybody who's had a near-death experience? And most people come back with psychic abilities. And I don't claim myself a psychic at all. He said, of course you are. I said, no, of course I'm not. I'm not a psychic. I can read energies. That's all I
See,
can feel.
they keep telling
You
me,
know?
well, you're a medium. I'm like, no, I'm not.
No, I don't think I am.
Because like you, like stuff comes to you.
Yeah,
I don't say, okay, now it comes to me
yeah.
and I'm going to tell you. It don't work that way. I do not own it. Now,
I
when
don't
I
know.
share my NDE,
Yeah.
I feel like, and I use the phrase because I don't know what else to say, like I'm harnessing the light.
Yes,
Like
exactly
I
right.
am
You got
back
it.
hovering over that pond. I am back
Yes.
in that bright
Yes.
white light and I've went through the tunnel and I felt I was before God and I felt Jesus was there because I'm a Christian. And so I all that comes back and I feel and it takes a while for me to get like back down to earth, like for my
Does
feet
it?
to hitch the ground,
Oh,
feet to hitch the ground,
really?
hit the ground.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
I was like you, like all these people coming afterwards. I want to hug you. I want to touch the light. And and I don't know. I cannot put words on it what happens, but there's something about when we share our story
Mm-hmm.
that, I can feel when in the ears really been there. I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling where they were. Yeah, yeah. And it's so cool to be able to, yeah, I was there too. I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. You're
Yeah.
struggling trying to explain it. I'm like, I get it. I
You
know.
get it. You get it.
Yeah,
I'm preaching to the choir. You get it completely. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful experience. But a lot of the times, I know when NDEers actually go through it, that becomes the whole story. And for me, it's something more than that, which is this ability that just opened up. And as I was telling about Dr. Grayson, when I asked him, I said, have you met anybody else? And he said, actually, I've never met anybody else who can do this automatically. And she said, you've never studied. I said, nothing, never. Don't have any licenses. I've never done Reiki, nothing.
right.
This is automatically just flows through and it does what it has to do. And I have so many testimonies. It's all in my book, actually. I have tons of testimonials from so many people along the last, what is it, 12 years that I've been doing this work. And they're still with me, many of whom are still with me. I have some that have left, but there are many who stay on because they want to keep growing. The spiritual growth is very important to them. Because what happens in our work is not just about seeing what we see in them in the physical world right now, but I can also see energies will show me. This is it, I don't have to ask it, it just comes when it has to. Previous lifetimes that this person has been a part of, or ancestors. I can feel ancestors, and certain patterns show up. It's amazing how these patterns show up. It's been in their family's lineage and it shows up and it's in them. And so sometimes I'll say something like, do you know anybody in your family? I can feel this person. Do you know this particular great grandmother from the father's side? I see that somebody here had this ability. It just shows up. I don't know anything more than
Yeah.
that specific thing.
And just
I don't
like
know how to do
you,
past life regression, but I just know it.
and like when you went to lunch and something was just telling you, like I say something was just telling you, don't talk about your art, tell your story.
Yeah,
And I haven't got that
exactly.
before. Go
Yeah,
and work with my husband on the pipeline. Share your story. I'm like, on the
yeah,
pipeline? No.
exactly. Yeah,
And then there comes a point in the day, it's like something saying, this is the time. This is
yeah,
do it now. And
exactly.
every time
You
there was a
listen.
person there that said, is that what that's called? Because this and this happened to me, and I didn't know
Yeah.
it was called something or it happens. You give me a lot to think about or think about. And so there's so much to, like you say, there's the NDE and there's what happens after the NDE and how we reconnect
Hmm.
with where we were,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
it-
So a lot of people don't go to that next iteration. I think they
yeah,
stop at the NDE. I think that's what I
yeah,
see when I've met many, many NDEers like Eben Alexander and many others. I've met other people that have gone through NDEs, even just regular people. I've met them, and they'll say things like, "This happened," and some people remember the light. Some people say, "I never saw anything." but then that's the period. It just stops at that. It doesn't go beyond. So in my case, it happened automatically because I was also given the opportunity to be completely homebound for so long, for months on end,
Mhm.
and completely, like, almost like I had the opportunity to be back in a cave. If I were meditating for like 10 years in the cave, it was almost like it was sped up, that I could, I had that same opportunity being in my own home, you know, surrounded by the walls, wasn't able to do anything, go anywhere, and just meditated for hours, eight
It's
hours a
like
day.
it's like we were um full speed ahead in the wrong direction. And this NDE happens and we're totally going another way now.
Yeah.
And it's a
Whole,
whole different road. It's not
whole
the
different
fast
story.
highway on 100 miles an hour.
No,
It's a
no,
slow, peaceful,
no.
shady road that's
Yes.
home.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. No, I mean there's so much more I could share, but we'll be sitting here for
Right,
till dinner time, so
right.
I don't want to take any more of your
Yeah.
time. But Peggy, you've been so patient and just wonderful listener, and I'm grateful that our paths connected, and I hope that it'll continue to pass, and I hope that we continue to keep connecting with
When
one
I
another.
saw you on the other podcast, I assumed so much that wasn't correct about you. I thought, I've
Oh.
never seen her before. I bet she's never shared her story before. I bet she's this woman in this other country. This is what I
Mm.
thought, that um, I just had so many wrong. I did. And then later on, before I had thought I was having you on last week, my electric just went out. Um, I was listening to you that morning and I got so into your story and then hearing who your husband is. And I was like, boy, if God, picks an indie ear, and her husband's the head of this university, of this top of this research university in the country, and he's head of the hospital where she had her
Yeah.
NDE. It's like if God was like, I like Eben Alexander, if I need to pick somebody that people will listen to, it would have been
Yes,
you, it'd been
exactly.
Eben, it'd been
Yeah.
Mary Neal. And
Very
but it
Neil,
gives
yes.
credibility to the rest of us
Yeah.
little nobodies out here in nobody land.
No, you're not nobody. You're, of course,
But you know what I
somebody
mean? Like,
big.
but when I first started telling mine, I'm like, it was so personal and so secretive and bad, and
Yeah.
I don't think I could let it come out. And
Yeah.
I waited a year to go before I went to an IONS meeting and they
Oh,
said,
you
oh,
did.
well, come to the meeting and then you listen to this person. Then next time you share yours. I'm like, ugh. And I was always a shy, quiet, and I was an investigator. Like I don't tell stories.
Oh,
I don't even read fiction books. Everything
wow.
has to be facts and
Yeah.
truthful and details. But then, when I shared my story, it's like opening up this
Yeah.
egg and just letting this out. I'm like, I'm staying out here. I'm no one never going back in
Not
that
going back.
shell.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. So
So, but yeah.
you let you let yourself blossom from it. So all the things that had kept you captivated and closed off, you slowly are opening up, which is beautiful to
Yeah,
see.
it's like
Yeah.
letting go of these chains and open up to truth.
Yes.
And like
Oh,
I
light.
know, my kids could think I went crazy. My friends or people I know, or I would never work again in this town, right? Because I'm going to be the cuckoo lady, because they're all hardcore Christians of different faiths, and they're
Oh,
going to put a noose out here in my tree to hang me or something.
wow.
It's just,
Wow.
and so it's really cool when I get to speak to somebody
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the ear
We
on the
understand.
computer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
don't want to take up all your day, but yeah,
No,
it's
no,
been
no. I
great.
have time. I just, being sensitive about you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, send me if you want any links put in your description, way people get to
Yeah.
contact you or this email or website. And if you do get your book out there, let me know and I can go ahead and add that link
Okay.
later. Okay.
That sounds good. Yeah, I hope someday. But as of now, I've been asked to just keep speaking and
Okay.
doing this what I'm doing, which seems to be sort of going that direction. I'm getting more and more speaking opportunities and things like that. So I spoke last week at a university here in town. That was very well received. And so, yeah, I mean, I keep conferences I speak at and things like that. So, because I also do the healing, I don't only talk. I also do what I did with the CEO group, when they actually experience things in the moment as they're experiencing it there, that validates it for themselves. They're like, oh my gosh, like you're not even touching me and this is happening to me. Like, yeah, I'm not doing anything. It's like the energies are doing it. So,
Yeah, I
so
mean,
it
it
opens
seems
them
so
up.
easy for you. Just like somebody says, "Oh, you have lunch with one person," and then they say, "Here, talk to this person." They say,
Yeah.
"Oh, do you want to be in this with all these
Yes.
CEOs?" I mean, it was just
Yeah.
like handed to you on a platter.
Yeah, yeah, and it just is continuing. It just keeps going on and on and on. I spoke at this was like about in May. I spoke just before the other podcast came open. I spoke at a local innovators CEO conference here in town. I was invited like 3 days before it actually happened. I didn't have notes. I just walked in. All these CEOs were sitting there, and I did a healing on them and massive catharsis. The CEO lady burst out crying, like wailing, crying, sobbing. Men and women were just like, wow, like they felt things in their body. And the next 2 days of the conference, I left and I get this message the next day. So the word is just spreading like fire. Oh my gosh, in a business conference, this woman is coming and she's so sort of out there and they brought her this woman in, that's me. And then they had this experience and they just spread it out to everybody. I get a text message on my LinkedIn post the next day from a radio person, and he says, so Mrs. Rao, he's in local community. I've never met him, never seen him, don't know who he is. Reaches out and he says, Mrs. Rao, I heard about your presentation, and I'd like to interview you on my radio show. Would you come? And I said, yes, sure. So I go and I, get interviewed, and I asked him, where did you hear about me? I've never met you. I've never seen you. Where did I hear about you? Where did you hear about me? And he says, it's just everywhere. Everyone's talking about your work. And I'm like, okay. Because for a long time, I didn't share this with anybody. And now that I'm out there, it's like
For
people
the
want more
last
of that.
hour, you keep reminding me of somebody. You probably haven't seen the series, but it's called White Lotus. It's a series.
Uh-huh.
Well, the last episode of that series, I think it might come back on next fall or something. But and my son is the one that got me. He says, "Mom, you got to watch this." Like, what is it? And so I
What is
started watching it. So it's great. But um the last episode of the last series, there is a meditation lady, healer, and you
Oh,
remind me
nice.
so much of her.
Yeah.
Your looks, the way
Yeah.
you talk, so much of this lady that is in this last season. Because
Oh,
it
wow.
starts
I
out
just,
with her, this young guy comes and he's going to start his meditation with her, but all these gunshots start going and they both
oh,
take off in directions. And so you
mm,
don't know what was going on. So then it goes back like 2 weeks or a week or something, and it leads up to how this started happening. But
oh,
this
nice.
but this lady that you remind me of, this meditation lady, this healer at this resort where you
Huh?
go for I don't know what you would
Like a
call
retreat, like a
it,
retreat or
like a
something.
retreat, yeah.
Retreat, yeah.
And so these very wealthy people fly in and they take a boat and come into these places. And the whole series is about a different place in these
Mhm.
countries that have this. And so this last season and this last episode, and but during this whole episode, this other guy, he's wanting to see his girlfriend wants go see her. No, I'm not going to. We're secret. He's planning on killing somebody that owns this resort.
Mm.
And so he starts going to her and then he starts depending on her. And then he wants to go see her at the very end. He needs to see her right now, but she's getting ready to see this young man where
Mm.
the gunshots start. So anyway, if you ever watch it, just
White
White Lotus,
Lotus.
go to the last episode of the
Is it
last
on
season.
Netflix? Sorry, is it on
I think it
Netflix?
is.
Okay,
I think it is. It's
I'll check
White
it out.
Lotus. Yeah.
White
Because
Lotus.
and
I'll check
you
it
like
out.
you remind me so much of her.
Oh, so sweet.
And I'm just wondering if any of these CEOs have watched the White Lotus and connect that, oh, that she's like her on the show.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So have I answered all your questions? So do you
Yes.
have any other questions? I mean, I'm
No.
sure I've missed sharing some things. I don't know what I might have missed, but what else could I have? shared with you that would, you know, would help you in your podcast? You'll be editing it, right? You'll be editing it.
No, this is unedited.
Unedited. Unedited. Oh,
Unedited. So we started at 1, it's 3:30, be 2.5 hours long.
ooh.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh.
No, it's unedited. Yeah.
They're going to boot me out. Nobody will have the
Not
patience.
really. A lot of my people hang in there. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
See, my show used to be really popular like 2 years ago. I was getting
Mhm.
like 50,000 views a day on my show.
Wow.
And a lot of reason,
50,000.
yeah. And
Wow.
about 2 years ago, I put on the brakes. I like got
Oh.
to my peak, and I don't know. A lot of things I got scared, and I just slowed way down to like
Oh, I'm
one or two a
sorry.
month. I was doing like
Mhm.
4 or 5 a day sometimes, to like
Wow.
1 or 2 a month. Well, there's my
Mhm.
husband's cancer. There
Yes,
was some
yes.
people that almost come on that I found out was huge fakes. And
Meaning, meaning on your show.
yeah, I almost
They
had
were
one guy
fakes.
on.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. He I almost had him on and it got me real scared. What if I would have someone on, would lead people astray and they would trust this and do
Hmm.
this that he
Yeah.
was selling because they trust me. And then, I think I'm putting this out to show people God because I think NDE show people God. They might call it
Something bad.
energy,
Yeah.
God energy, or you might call it this, or some people
Yeah.
say the source, but we're all talking about the same thing.
Same
In
thing.
fact,
Same.
one time I was interviewing somebody and I was still hung up on all these different names. Why they call it the source? And I heard I go by
Mhm.
many names and it
Yes.
just stuck with
True.
me.
Same
And
thing. It goes by many names. So
yeah,
divine intelligence, God, energies. I say energies because it's, that's how, I see it like God is everywhere. So God is an energy. God is energy. So God is a superior energy. And so that's what I feel like I'm tapping into, that superior energy, because it's always accurate. It always tells me the right thing. You know, I always know also like I've had premonitions as a child too. Since I was very little, I always knew something before it happened. It was always accurate. But this is of a different kind now. It's different now than it was back then because then I could not feel it in people's body, or although I think I could feel it in people's bodies, I just didn't know it. I would feel people's pain so intense that I would actually collapse back when I was young.
what's
So
funny? You mentioned at one point it felt like all this water come down on you.
yeah,
And I always feel like some of us NDEers, it's like there was this seed before NDE that
yes,
hadn't
true.
grown yet. We had these little
Yes,
intuitions and little things. We hear it a
exactly.
lot. And then after NDE, and you were talking about this water coming
Water.
down, and it just seems
Yeah.
like when we come back, it's like we're now like planted, or we're to go spread this, or there's some things expected of us.
That's exactly right. We're meant to be doing something, and the sooner we can come to that, the better our lives become. And I think there's a reason why these NTEs also happen. This is also what the energies have told me, that God told me, that is that why it happens to select people, certain people. I think it happens to more people than the ones that are talking about it. I think that happens to lots of people. Many people don't even know that there's something that has happened to them. I think more people experience it than not, but they just don't know about it. Because when I share my story, I know I was in Merida, Mexico, 2 years ago for university work with my husband's work, but I was with him. And this taxi driver who was driving us from point A to point B, I don't know why. I get these messages basically that tell me, tell this person your story. So he's driving the car and he's speaking Spanish and I don't speak Spanish. I understand it, I just can't speak it. And he's driving the car and he is the same way. He understands English but couldn't speak it. So the man who was with us, he could speak Spanish. My husband can, but he and this other man could even speak even better Spanish, right? So he's there listening to he's listening to this story. I'm sharing my story with him because I've been told by the energy, tell the driver your story. So randomly I say, um, what's his name? And he tells me, and I start telling my story to him. He's listening. He understands everything I'm saying, but he's responding to me, to the person who's sitting in the passenger seat, who's this other man from Mexico, who understands everything he's saying. And he's saying, tell her this, telling me. So he had had a near-death experience.
Huh.
How? It's just funny. It's strange. It's not strange. He said it's strange, but it wasn't strange. He said he was driving somebody long ago, like about 10 years ago, he was driving a couple, a husband and a wife. Husband was sitting in the front, wife was sitting in the back. He was driving, and he was preoccupied because his mother was dying or something like that. His mother was dying, some family member was dying. So he veered off because they were going on a mountain slope or something, and he veered off and he went to the edge of the cliff.
Oh,
So at the edge of the cliff, he said, the the car was dangling like it's half, like, see, if the cliff was like this,
uh-huh.
the car was like that, like
Like in the
that. And
movies.
these, yeah, in the movies, right? And these people who were there in there, the husband and the wife, they actually escaped. They came out of the car. They
Uh-huh.
opened the door and they ran off. But he was still there. And he was still there, and his family members couldn't find him. He said that something happened to him, like he had a heart attack, because he got so perturbed that, that the car was like this, and he
Hmm.
thought he'd never get out of there. But the other two people got out. He just couldn't because he was in the driver's seat. I think he froze.
Yeah.
That's what he was telling this other man. Is, I think I may have frozen, but also I think I had a heart attack. So he was found later. The people found him, and he was pulled out of there. And he said, when I came back home, he said, I felt like I was, like, bright light was around me. He said that. He said, but I didn't tell anybody anything because I didn't know. I thought this was just weird. Like, why is this happening? And then he was home and he had to recover and all this stuff. And then he was telling me, he said, when you said your story, now it occurs to me that that actually also happened to me. Like, he saw the light, but he didn't see anything else. He just said, I just saw the light, and I've never been the same after that. And he told me, he was telling this man who was sitting next to him, our companion, basically. He was telling him in Spanish. He said, tell her that, please thank her for telling me the story, because now it's making sense. When she tells the story, it makes sense that I actually also had the same experience. I just didn't know it.
Hmm.
Isn't that amazing? So I think when we talk about our stories, it gives others permission,
There's something about the
right?
light. There's something about the light. Um, when my husband's mother was in the hospital, she was about to have heart surgery the next day. And me and my husband and his sister and brother were there, and her husband. And this isn't like her, but all of a sudden she says to her other son, she says, say a prayer for us. Let's all hold hands. She says, told him, so Jerry, say a prayer. And he says, Mom, I can't. He's like prior military and everything, Mom, I can't. Like, put on the spot. I don't think they even went to church, his brother. And so I said, well, I will. And they looked at me like, okay. And so I said a prayer. We all held hands and just started to go out the door, and the phone rang. I didn't pay attention. My husband and I went down the cafeteria and come back. And she had said that that was her brother, Roger, that had called. Now, Roger is a younger brother of hers. And since then, I've got to know Roger, and he hated going to church as a kid. His mom would try to make him, she'd have to drag him. He would get up and leave, just hated church. He's wanted nothing to do with church his whole life. And so after she got home from the hospital, we went there to visit her, and she said, "My brother Roger was just here." She's like, she'd lived there 40 years. She's like, I can count on one hand the times he's been here. And she
Mm,
said, he come and had to tell me something.
mm,
Like, what's going on? And she says, remember, you just got done saying that prayer and the phone rang and that was him.
mm,
And yeah, she said, she says, when I said hello, he said he was in a car driving and a friend was in the passenger side, and said the whole car went to a bright white light inside.
mhm,
He had to pull over in a Walmart parking lot, and his friend
mm.
got out, went in Walmart, didn't know what was going on. He said he couldn't move. The whole car was full of bright white light. And so the whole time he was talking to her, he was like, what's going on here? He says, I've heard of stuff like that. He says, I thought it was just Hollywood. And he says, I don't know what that was. And so I want to talk to him now, you want to
Yeah,
talk more about
yeah,
this? He's like,
yeah.
no, no.
So a lot
But
of people are scared also, because I don't know why. Maybe they feel that they're going to be ostracized, or people are just going to, you
but
know,
he told all his
brush it
buddies,
off or
because
something.
his buddies, they go to the certain place and we would go there. His buddy says, oh yeah, he told us all about it. But he don't want to talk about it.
He
But he
doesn't know.
wanted to read
Yeah.
my book, and he read my book.
Oh, wow. I have to read your book. I haven't read your book.
Uh,
I need to read your
You know
book.
what's weird about my book is okay. It just has a picture of a flower, not flashy front or nothing, on as a will of the wildflower. And it's like the first half is just me from a little girl, up to 18, get married, and the rest is, up to present. And um my husband's business agent, like over the plumbers and pipe fitters, right? He
Mhm.
read it. He said, Peggy, there's not enough tissues. I couldn't stop crying. I kept hearing this from middle-aged men. I
Wow.
never thought any middle-aged man would read my book. But I
Wow.
had more middle-aged men telling me that had read my book, they couldn't stop crying. I thought
Wow.
that's weird. Because it's all girly girl, I think, right?
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
but they they
That's interesting.
they
Yes.
they felt compassion for this little girl and this
Yeah.
young mother. And I'm like, I never would have guessed.
Yeah. I need to buy your book and read it. Yes, I'll do that.
Okay.
Have you written two or one?
Just one.
Just
People
one?
keep
Yeah.
telling me I need to write another one and
Yeah.
talk about Jim and his cancer
Jim,
journey and
yes.
all
Yeah, that
that.
would be
So,
nice.
so I'm just
Yeah.
not ready yet.
Not ready yet. Yeah, at the right time. Same with me. I've just been asked to wait. Everything will happen. A lot of people have asked about doing a documentary film. Three different people asked me, "Can I do one for you? Can I do it?" And when they told me that they have to raise so much of money, I said, "Well, the time will come when the right person wants to just do it, right? Somebody will show up, and that person want to do it. It'll be at the right time. I don't want to push it. So that's part of
Hey,
my work is I
see,
don't
I
push it.
don't get that because like I'm just waiting for any kind of opportunities, all these opportunities you have, right? And like that. I'm like, I'm just waiting, but I'm long gone by, because
But you
I
had a
really
documentary done. Did someone do one for you?
Anthony Sheen.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, that's
Um,
the person you sent me. You sent
mhm.
me I haven't looked at it yet. You
Okay.
sent me some videos that he's done?
Yes.
Yes.
And yeah, he's amazing. Does it? He was a world banker.
Oh, wow.
And he just decided this isn't for me. He heard about NDEs and he wanted to make NDE
Wow.
documentaries. And he
Wow.
just stopped that life. His family thought he's nuts. Like, what are you doing? And he's
Wow.
like a one-man show. He has no help. He does all
And
this on
just for
his own,
himself? How does
all
he
by
raise
himself.
funds? When
It's
he did
it's
yours, did he raise funds for you or how did he do it?
No, no, no. And no, he just sends a camera guy to your home and
Mm-hmm.
has a laptop there. And the camera guy sets up his camera equipment and the lights and everything so you have a good soundproof room and and then puts Anthony, he's on the laptop and Anthony interviews like I am now through Zoom and just, gets the questions and then that guy sends him that file and then
Okay.
he works his magic on it.
Wow.
And I tell you, there's something, I'm not kidding you. When I got that um, film, there's a side shot of this kid. I didn't send him a side shot of my son Jeremy, and it's big, and it's like, that's my son Jeremy. How
Wow.
did he get that? How did he do that?
Wow.
I know he just had to pick off, what do you call it, B-roll. They just pick off stuff.
B-roll, yeah.
But it
Mm-hmm.
was eerie.
Wow.
And then there's parts in there where I'm talking about, I can't have one thing happen to my sons happen to me. And then later I'm talking about abuse. God said there's always be abused kids when I turned 18 and blah, blah, blah. And there's a spooky eeriness of how accurate it is
Mm-hmm.
that God has got to be working through this man. And he's so humble. He just
Wow.
don't think
Wow.
his work is good at all. It's just never good enough. He's always thinking about quitting it. And he
Really?
has it, and France doesn't like NDEs, but he has the biggest NDE. His channel for NDEs is way bigger there than it is here, and it's big here.
Really? So how do I
So,
get connected to him if I need to get connected to him?
um, I'll send you information. I'll
Yeah.
send you his email. Hmm.
Okay. Great.
And then
Awesome.
I'll have this published and sent to you later today, and I can send that to him and say, "Hey, do you want to talk to this lady?"
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. That sounds good. Wonderful. Yeah. So I'll see this. When will this go air? When will this go live?
Later tonight. I get them done real quick.
Seriously, so
Yeah.
fast?
Yeah. Because I don't edit. I just cut off our chit chat before I introduce
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Right, right,
And
right.
then as soon as we say goodbye, I'm off the screen and I am getting it put in a
Okay,
file to get it
awesome.
loaded and all that.
Awesome, awesome. So will it go on YouTube or where will you be
Yeah,
putting it? In
YouTube,
your
my
channel?
channel.
Okay. So
And
can you send me the
the moment I click publish, I send it to my guest.
okay,
So they
awesome.
have it straight
Awesome.
out. And so if
Yes.
there's anything wrong, you can let me know on the
Okay.
description or the title, or like,
Okay.
Peggy, that's wrong. I can
So
hurry it
you
up.
want me to send you all of that information, the podcast links and things like
Yeah,
that?
it'll take me, I usually have them out in a couple hours after our interview's finished,
Yeah.
but because it's 2 hours long.
It's long. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry it went on so
No, no, no.
long.
Actually, it's
I was
three
trying to
hours.
actually,
It's
I
three
was trying
hours
to
long
scale
now.
it back. Hmm?
Yeah, it's 3 hours long now.
3
So
hours long.
it'll take longer for it to,
Yes, yes. I was just trying to scale it back because I'm so, the first one, the one I did with
well, see, I don't know
Jazz
how
was
to edit.
so
I don't,
wordy.
my,
It's
my,
so
my
wordy.
shows are unedited because I don't know how to edit very well.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
trim off our chit chat in the beginning and then like
Yeah.
a few seconds at the end after we say goodbye. And that's why I get them out so quick is
Wow.
because, and I don't know how to edit. I started this not knowing how to do it 5 years ago
Wow.
when I started.
Okay. Well, it's going to go out as bloopers then. If
Yeah.
I made mistakes, I made mistakes, whatever.
But
So
they're
it's
all
fine.
like this. They're
Yeah.
all very, people say they
Very
like my
casual. Yeah.
channel because they
Yeah.
said it's like two people sitting at a kitchen table talking.
Yes, yes, yes. And we all make mistakes when we talk, so no big deal.
Yeah,
I'm
I
fine.
don't add music and I don't add B-roll and I don't,
Okay.
you know what? It's not true anymore. When you
Why?
put the B-roll, that is given a picture that's not true, that's not real of your story.
What does that mean? Which B-roll?
Like a lot of the channel NDE channels now, they will add music and pictures and little
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
video
yeah, yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
reenact your story as
Yeah,
you're.
yeah, yeah. I don't like that.
I don't like it. And at the
I don't like
beginning,
that.
they started, I thought, oh no, my channel's going to be crap. Everybody's watching. They'll get millions of views. Actually, they have fake NDEs now. They can get hot, they can push a button and say, I want her to have blonde hair. I want her to have this accent. I want her to be this age.
What? Like
Yeah,
AI?
they
The AI
create
thing?
an AI image of
That's
someone
scary. Oh
and
my gosh, Peggy, that's scary.
yeah, they tell them on NDE that never happened.
So you said you've had that. You've had people come and say these things to you? That's
What?
scary.
What?
That they've come and made up stories on your
Oh, I
show?
see it. I see it. I know
Oh,
what it is online. And if anybody wants to know if this is a real NDE, like you, I'm going to have your name. All they
yeah.
got to do
Go
is
for it.
Google your name and put
Mm.
it in YouTube. See if she told her story somewhere else. Because some of these,
Whoa.
they'll even do a fake news story in their NDE showing that making it look like this is a news story. But all they got to do is go
Wow,
to
that's
Google and
scary.
put that in. If it's not a news story in Google, it didn't happen. If they haven't told their story somewhere else on, now there is some people that's only told on my channel or somebody else's
Yeah,
channel and that's it, they're done.
that's it. Right.
But you can Google their name and see if they're a real person.
That's scary.
But they're
That
a
is
fake
happening.
person and it's
But
a
they're
fake
fake people.
NDE and they get uh, sometimes a million views.
And do people know
Not
it's fake?
real.
But
Huh?
do people know it's fake? Do people know it's fake?
No, you read
Oh,
the comments and oh dear Jesus, thank God, and blah blah blah. I'm so glad they're okay. And blah. They fall for it, hook, line,
oh
and
my gosh,
sinker,
it's
and
scary.
it's not
Yikes.
true. None
Oh,
of
that's
it, not
scary.
a word.
That is
And it's not even
scary.
a real person. And how
Hmm.
they could tell if it isn't, they're so perfect talking that they da 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 da.
Yeah, yeah. It's a fake
Yeah,
person. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think what you're doing is good with all of our mistakes and ahs and
It's
ums,
authentic.
it makes it look real because that it is real. We're not making it up. No one's
Right.
making it up. It's the
Mhm.
truth, right? So it's like, painting a perfect picture versus if you look at my paintings, they're all, I call it wabi sabi. I love it. It's like mistakes are there, and I just include the mistakes, and I let it be as it is, and it becomes part of the painting. Whereas some people are very precise, and I'm just not. I just don't want to be precise, and I love to not be precise, and it's fine. So life is like that too, right? Nothing is perfect here.
You know,
Look at our fingers.
and
None
you know
none of it are
when they
perfect.
started the fake ones, I thought, oh gosh, who's going to want to watch my thing?
Yeah.
My sound's not perfect, or my lighting's not perfect, or we're just all over the place. But now, a couple years after AI's been out, and I'm thinking, you know what? I think people want authentic.
People want your thing. People want yours just you can call it raw and unfiltered. Is
right.
you're not changing anything, you're not editing anything. It's just what it is. It's the
Yeah,
truth. Yeah, the truth
yeah.
channel. Yeah,
And
I
I
love it.
always try to throw some of my personal stuff in there
Yeah,
because some of the audience, they want to know what's going on with Peggy, you know. They want
nice.
the new guests and stuff, but they want to know, like, how's Peggy's husband? And I think they
Exactly.
really love that my husband just happened to walk
Yeah.
by when we
So
interviewed him.
is that will that be part of the thing?
Oh yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, he'll still be in there. I don't cut nothing out. Like some chit
Okay,
chat before I
awesome.
interview you. And then somebody the other day was talking, he said, "Oh, you cut this out." And I'm like, "This is unedited." So if you don't want to say that, don't go any further.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Now,
you.
one
I mean,
lady last couple weeks
mhm.
ago, she was talking and she got on something, and I'm like, no, that's not correct. And she was determined it was like, all you gotta do is Google it. You'll see it's not correct. So I knew she would. She contacted me afterwards. Do not publish it. Okay,
The
you know,
whole thing, you just
yeah,
cut out
the whole
oh
thing.
boy.
Because she said something and I said something and she says, that's not correct. I said, Google it. And so Googled it and sent it
Sent
to
it.
her afterwards
Mhm.
to show that I wasn't making
It
this
wasn't.
up.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
someone had said that she idolizes. She couldn't believe they said that.
Oh,
Well, yeah, they did. So she's like, we'll
oh.
take the whole thing. Okay. She says, well, you can edit this and this and that. I'm like,
You,
no.
you, you don't edit. A lot of people are doing that. No editing. Earlier, I was doing some other work somewhere else, and they said, "I don't edit anything." I said, "That's great because it's the truth. Whatever is coming out is the truth, so it's fine." I like it, but it's no editing because we don't make stuff up. It's the truth. So
Yeah. And
publish it.
also
It's
too,
fine.
somebody told me that, they had edited like an hour out of a 2 hour interview. And, to me, that's like,
Yes,
that's fine. That's fine if they want to do that because they know nobody
Natasha
will
did
watch.
that.
Yeah.
Natasha
That's
did that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine. But
yeah,
for me, I don't want to be pick and choose what I want people to see
mhm.
out of your story. I could
Right.
mislead your story,
Yeah.
and I don't want to do that,
So
you
I'll
know.
send you another one. I'll send you another one. Sarah Daves, she's a local person. She interviewed me a month ago, maybe, and it's out in the market. I mean, it's out in the air now. The whole thing she's edited, and you can actually see that it's edited. You mid sentence,
Yeah,
she
yeah,
cuts me out. Mid
yeah.
sentence, I'm cut out.
Oh
Mid
no.
sentence, I'm cut out. I mean, you'll see it's very choppy. I'll send it to you just for you. I don't know if you
Uh-huh.
want to put it in in that space, but I'll
Oh.
send it to you.
Yeah, I don't put
Uh,
anybody else's videos usually in my,
no.
but like, I mean, like links as far as if you have a website or if you want me to put
Oh,
your email in for people to contact you
oh,
if they
okay,
want to
okay.
interview,
So
stuff like
you
that.
don't want podcast, right? You don't want
Yeah,
podcast. You
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
okay. Just you only want website and what else?
If
Website
it's
and
it's for you, it's for you. If
okay,
you want something in there,
okay. So
if a
website
way
and
for
maybe how to
people
reach
to,
out to me.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
that's all.
okay.
That's for you. It's not
That's
for,
right. Not for us. Okay, that's perfect. So just my link of the website and should I give you LinkedIn and things like that or no?
Lincoln.
LinkedIn, how to reach
If you
people?
want, I don't think people pay
I don't
attention to
think
those.
so.
I think they just
I
want a way
think
to
website is
contact
enough.
you.
Yeah, website is enough.
Honestly, what it's really for, I think, is another podcaster when they're looking for guests. How do I contact them? Because
Okay.
if I
Yeah.
don't put an email in there or a website for them, they'll contact me. Hey, Peggy, how do I get hold of this person?
Okay. Yeah. Got it. So I'll just give you my website and then the
Okay.
my email address or something.
Okay.
And if something pops up and you need support or anything, you let me know. I'm happy to be here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find a way to get my husband's dandelion root story out there because last November, when he got cured from this incurable, very aggressive, incurable cancer, that
Yeah.
chemo won't cure it, chemo won't slow it. And then God led me to this dandelion root, and bam, it was gone. And so I contact the news because I want everybody's husband cured, everybody's wife,
Oh,
everybody's.
yes.
If
Everybody should
this
be
would
cured.
work for him, maybe to work for somebody else.
Yeah.
And so they took their time, like a month of getting it out, and I thought, what are they waiting on? Because they had did my NDE story, Daily Mail, like a few months prior, and it was out real quick. So what's going on? I found out they found a ER doctor that has a YouTube channel that is an expert on everything. I don't care if it's child
Yeah.
development, child psychology, COVID, anything. He's an expert. He's hired. They'll hire him because he's a doctor to give his take on, and that's what they did. They hired him to discredit me. They put out my story one day,
What?
held it, and did his the next. And he put it out, they put it out like he saw me and just had to contact them and sound the alarm. No, they found him before he ever heard my story to discredit. And then they called me an influencer, like because I have a channel that I'm an influencer and like influencers are like known liars or something, right? Just doing stuff for views. He has a bigger channel than I do, but they didn't mention that he has a YouTube channel, that he's a
Right.
bigger influ and that he's hired to do this. So, and he's an ER doctor. What does he know about cancer? What does he know a thing about my husband? And I
Yeah.
sent them tons of my husband's medical records to
Records.
show
Uh-huh.
them that I am saying
Yeah.
what I'm saying. So anyway, but they put it out. And even in my NDE story a few months before that, they so wrongly misquoted me, even in their title, tried to say that I said this about God and that about God. I said, oh, no, 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 you are not saying said this about God.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so I got him to correct that, but because I wanted this story out so bad about my husband cancer, thinking maybe it help somebody else, that I went ahead with the same people. Well, just in the last couple of weeks, Daily Mail took all their stuff down except for what the doctor said. Because it
Mm.
went out and then all these other places picked it up. And so there's only a few out there now.
Mm-hmm.
And then it happened right after Epic Times was getting ready to do his story too, because they, in February, we were at Canada in the Windsor University. Dr. Pandy has his yearly dandelion root project thing. And he said there is a news reporter on that we're going to talk to you after this. Like, okay. And I didn't hear from her for a while. And then I heard she was going to talk to a couple other people that was there and then us. Well, she was getting the story ready, but then April, my husband's CT showed something come back. So I wanted to be honest and let her know. And she's, well, we're not going to put your husband in this story. And I'm like, you know what? This isn't right. Because these other two people that's in the story that just come out after all these months, like a month ago, one is dead, end up dying of heart trouble, not the
Oh.
cancer. And his
Mm.
son is telling the story.
Mm.
And it's from 2010
Mm.
that he had this cancer. And then the other one was like right after that, like maybe 2015 or something, her breast cancer that was terminal and she was cured with dandelion root. So wouldn't it be nice to have my husband
Yeah.
that recent? I said,
Right.
and they're acting like, I said, being cured for 7 months, you're acting like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Ask
It's
somebody
saying
that's
something.
terminal, that is
Yes.
told very aggressive, incurable, chemo
Mm-hmm.
won't cure it or slow it. Ask them if they want to know about something that someone got clean slate, no cancer, 7 months that come back. They will take that 7 months,
Mm.
you know. So
Yeah.
I
So I think
asked,
you have to find the right place to publish that article.
yeah.
You have to find the right place. Like it should go in the right place. Yeah, we'll have to figure out where can you, because I think a lot of people don't want to hear it, right? What cured
A
it?
weed.
They don't, yeah, they don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. Even when, I didn't share a lot about mine, but same thing, when I got well, 100% healed, nobody out there wanted to know what is it that I did or didn't do
hmm
that I got better. And I didn't talk about this with you,
Well,
but
when it got very worse, it entered my husband's lungs. And they're saying incurable and all this, and all they would say palliative care. And then they say, you can do chemo because it may help with symptoms later. And they look at me and smile, and it would drive me nuts. But some people choose to do nothing. I
oh
thought
my
she's
God, really?
smiling as she tells me, let my husband go home and die. She is smiling in my face. And
Yeah.
so, my anger. So I thought I'd
Upset?
come up here and I was like, I started praying to God and I got angry. And all of a sudden, God interrupted me. How you hear things, I heard so clearly, nothing's going to happen to Jim.
Nothing's gonna happen. Yeah.
And I
And
ran
listen to those
downstairs
messages. They're amazing.
and I
And they're
told,
so right.
they are right. And I
Yeah.
knew, I knew, I knew. And I told my husband, and he's so happy and we're hugging because I have been nothing but fear for 2 years ever since he was diagnosed. When I was
Yeah.
told, then, that he was going to find out, the next day that it's going to be a very difficult
Mhm.
journey. And so
Mm.
I hadn't heard nothing since then. And now I hear this. And so the, and so the next day I'm like, started praying again, but God, how is it going to be cured? Like they said, very aggressive, incurable. Now it's in his lungs. How's this going to be cured? And I thought, I don't know. And so I just picked up my husband's phone and there was this Facebook and it said on his Facebook, this post had one picture of this one dandelion. It reminded me of the cover of my book, just one, wildflower. And it said dandelion root cures colon cancer by
Mm.
95%
Wow.
in 48 hours in the lab. And I swear to you, I held that and I was like
That
this.
was your message. That was your answer to your plea,
Mhm,
to your prayer. That was the answer that it came back to you and said that. So
mhm.
how, tell me more about the tincture that you used. So what is it?
So I told him, he's just picked up his phone. He called to see if Mother Earth Foods in Parkersburg, a half hour from my house, see if they carry this dandelion root. And they said
Mhm.
they did. So we got right in the car, went straight there, and he bought it. And it's a tincture, and it's called
Tincture, yeah.
Tincture. It's Earthworks Dandelion, at Mother Earth Foods, Parkersburg, West Virginia. And he took his first dose. We even left the parking lot,
So
and
you
he
live in
takes it.
West Virginia. You live in West Virginia.
No, we live in Ohio, but we
Ohio.
border the river, West
I
Virginia.
see.
And so it said to take, and that's what he takes is one dropper full in a cup of water 3 times a day, every day. And
Okay.
when we were at
Can you text it to me
sure,
or email it to me, please?
the amount or where he gets it, the link, both.
Yeah, what it is and the link.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's what he took. That was a Saturday. That was July 19. On Monday, July 21 last year. He went for his normal doctor appointment to get his chemo and CEA and we
Mhm.
were so excited. Like we knew, we knew, we knew, we knew. We were like kids at Christmas. We knew, we knew, we knew
Mm.
what we were going to get. And so we couldn't wait to get a CEA and it went from 14 to 2.3.
Wow.
And we were so excited and
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah.
they don't understand us. Here's this terminal guy coming and I'm
Yeah.
sure most people were all upset and crying, and we're so excited. And they're like, what? And he's like,
Yeah.
we're like, get on a route. And they're like, they called down to the hospital pharmacy to make sure it was safe. And they come back and say, yeah, he said it's safe. So they added it on the
Mhm.
July 21st
Mhm.
to his medical chart, right? So it's
Yeah.
proof when he started it. And we could not wait for his next CTs, which was in 2 weeks
Okay.
because we couldn't wait to prove we knew. And it come back, and I remember, I forget, I was in the living room. My husband sitting on the couch, and he gets his my chart on his phone, his email, and he looks and he says, "I got my chart," and I'm like, waiting for him to tell me. And he said, "Blah blah blah." Everything had either shrunk or disappeared, and we're like,
Wow.
"Oh my
Amazing.
God! Oh my God!
Amazing.
Oh my
Amazing.
God!" And then we had
Yeah.
to wait 2 months to have another CT, and that CT come back, and everything was gone. So
Amazing.
the oncologist, his partner, she comes in like assistant or something, what she is. And she's like, I don't really care for her because she's so stone faced. And these people give me all this bad news before. And so we're all excited. And she says, so you had a positive response to treatment. I'm like, how can you say that? You people all told me chemo won't cure it. Chemo won't slow it. Chemo may help with symptoms later. And now you want to take the credit? And we're saying it was the dandelion root. And she just, I'm like,
I
come
know.
on.
Yeah.
So, but now, long story short, Dr. Mitra, his oncologist at Ohio State University, was online and the meeting where Jim and I was, and we spoke at this dandelion root project, Windsor University in Canada. And he's now collaborating with Dr. Mitra on this dandelion root project.
Mm.
And when we met with him later,
Awesome.
he started asking me questions. How did you find, of course, I leave the God stuff out of it and the prayer out of it when I talk to him, right?
Right, right,
He's
right.
like, how did you hear about this?
What did you say?
He asked me, how did you hear about this? And I said, I saw it on a Facebook post.
Yeah.
And we
I think
went right
that's the
out and
best
we got.
answer. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I said, well, I got this YouTube channel. So I interviewed my husband on my channel and about
Great.
this. And I interviewed the Dr. Pandy
Good.
about this. and I interviewed the herbalist that where we got the at Mother Earth Foods that
Medicine. Yeah.
has the recipe. He has his stuff made in New Mexico and it's all FDA approved and stuff. So
Mhm.
so ended up being a big thing because it's now the dandelion root tincture my husband uses.
Used. Hmm.
Before, Dr. Pandy always told the patients to make the tea at home. So
Okay.
so that's kind of like
With the root.
unscientific, right? Can't
Yeah.
measure it. So I had just, when my husband was cured, I say cured, I guess you can't say it for 5 years, but as I'm saying it, right? So when he's cured of this incurable cancer, we're all excited and happy. And so I wanted to say thank you. I sent an email to, I found out this Dr. Pandy, who was responsible for this research I had saw, right? And I just
Yeah.
said thank you. He contacted me. He called me and he said, Peggy, 1 hour before I got your email, I was contacted by a foundation in Columbus, Ohio, which is where my husband's hospital is,
Hmm.
that used his Dr. Pandy's research to get a grant to use dandelion root as a cancer preventative. He said, before I'd always use the tea. Your husband used the tincture.
Tincture. Yeah.
Now I can refer them to use this tincture.
Yes. The tincture
So
is more powerful, more strong. Yeah. More concentrated, right? Yeah.
So I had already contacted the herbalist at Mother Earth Foods to say thank you as well. We got an appointment and it's, $75 to have a consultation with this guy, but we want to say thank you and this happened. And so he did not know. He's been in business. He's had a 50th anniversary that dandelion root is supposed to cure cancer. He was saying it for other things. So he
Mhm.
got a hold of his guy, Mitch, who has the store in New Mexico where he has his recipes and stuff. And
Mhm.
so they're excited to learn about this. And so when I interviewed him on my YouTube channel, he says, well, let me look it up here. He pulls out one of his books from 1980. He says,
Yeah.
yeah, it says it right here. It says 1980, dandelion root cures cancer. And Dr.
Is it
Pandy
all
had
kinds
said,
of cancer, Peggy? Is it all kinds of cancer or just colon cancer?
um, they're saying leukemia,
Mm.
breast cancer. The two other people she interviewed Epic Times was leukemia and breast cancer.
Breast cancer. Okay.
And so I know those for sure that they're listed. And I just have on a post the other day and they list several kinds and those was in there. Um, so where
And
was that?
so, at what stages are these? Like, so it cures breast cancer
They were
and colon cancer.
terminal.
What's terminal?
They
So,
were terminal.
stage 4.
Yes. The first guy that this was in the news when I got researching all this, it was in the news, John DeCaro, and it was like 2012, I believe. And he went to the news because he was actively dying of leukemia. They had all gave up on him. He hadn't eaten, he hasn't got out of bed, um, and he's just so sick and he's dying. And someone said, we heard about Dr. Pandy,
Hmm.
and he's in Canada, this man, and about this dandelion tea. And he's like, well, what's that going to do? He's had the best doctors and stuff. He started drinking the tea. The very next day, he's eating. His
He's what?
nauseous eating. He was
Eating.
so nauseous and
Yeah,
he
yeah.
couldn't eat. And he's eating, nausea's gone. He got his family and went on vacation.
Wow.
And so he lived a
So it
long
is
time.
working. So there is more than just anecdotal, is what you're trying to say, is there's
Yes.
way more than just anecdotal. So a lot of times researchers will say, oh, it's just anecdotal, 10, 20, 30, 40 people, but they want to see like big studies,
My husband is
So
number
that's
57 in Dr.
okay.
Pandy's study.
Awesome.
But I see other people on the internet say, oh yeah, I was cured that long time ago. I used that and cured, but they're not in his study. So this
Hmm.
other lady that was in the news article that they just put out recently, besides John DeCaro's son that was talking, this lady, she had just got home from her honeymoon, noticed the lump, and went to the doctor, breast cancer, and it's like she was allergic to the chemo or something, like she couldn't take it, and it just aggressed so fast that she was terminal, no hope for her. And I believe the story is that her dad is in the Knights of Columbus at Windsor
Mm.
in Windsor, and so he had heard through something about this because they had provided funding after this John DeCara actually there was a man that died of cancer, and his parents donated a bunch of money and started this dandelion root project. So he had heard about this. Knights of Columbus had donated money, and so I think her husband was Knights of Columbus, and so he says you got to drink this tea to his daughter, and then she suddenly cured, and this was like in 2012 or something. And here we
Wow.
are. She stayed cured.
Well,
And so those are the two stories that I know, and those are the two
you
stories
know,
that was in the news. And then when we went there in Canada in February, um, they called Jim their new hero because he's a recent case and because of the
yeah.
tincture. And so they took us to the lab after this project meeting and let us see the cancer in microscopes and them adding the actual, the tincture and showing this. And so we
Hmm.
got to see, I'm like, get me away from this cancer. I hate cancer. I don't get this
I
going
know. I hope
through.
it's gone for good and it doesn't come back again.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when
Oh.
it came back after 7 months last April, I was already talking to this Emma Sudi, was doing that from Epic Times, doing this story. And I told her, come back. And so she's not going to put him in that, but she's going to do a story just on Jim and the cancer journey and whatever
Hmm.
you want to do.
Awesome.
Is talking about other things and Anthony Sheen, maybe doing a documentary, something with him.
Nice. Awesome.
But it all kind of fell apart because she said that story was already out about the other two. And I thought
Mm.
it was. I thought I just didn't see it. But then this new story come out and I'm reading. Where's Jim? Where's Jim? Because she's, oh, we're going to go ahead and like with it. I thought she meant this go ahead and put Jim in. Because she's, oh, the story's ready. And I thought they meant Jim's story. And so, but it was anyway. So I'm like, how come Jim ain't in there? And then Dr. Pandy got really upset. How come Peggy's husband's story's not in there? Because her oncologist is behind. This is the first time they had an oncologist behind this.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a recent thing. And, so everybody got kind of upset. And I don't think I don't know. I think I might have lost my connection with the Epic Times lady. She was a
It'll
sweetheart.
all work out. It'll
She's a
all work out.
sweetheart.
I feel it. I feel your
But
passion, Peggy. It's all going to work out.
yeah.
It's all going to work out. Yes.
But so, I don't know, is this, if the story is just the dandelion root. Is it, what we're talking about, something told me, being this connection to, God's source, whatever people want to call it,
Mm.
that there's this intelligence realm that we
Yeah.
can connect with. And
Yes.
I call it God. And to me, it's my Father in heaven, who I saw in the bright white light and all these things that I've
Yeah.
always believed in since I was a child. And so to me, it was like God, because when I was looking at that phone and I seen that, I pictured the cover of my book and I'm like, are you telling me,
Wow.
like I'm sitting there out loud, by myself in the room, are you telling me the will of a wildflower, that's the name of my book,
Yeah.
the will of a wildflower will cure my husband's cancer?
Wow.
And I'm like, if
See,
if
it's
God isn't
amazing. That's
speaking to
meant to
me right
be.
now, I said, if God isn't speaking to me right now, he never did. He never
Yeah.
did. And that would mean all of the thing I've done on my channel, everything I've done on my book, everything I have put myself is a lie. If or this is real. It's like taking all your gambling chips and saying, I bet on this.
Yes, yes, yes.
I
Yeah.
did, I did. And then he was cured. So then
Wow.
I'm listening to you
Amazing
today and
story.
I'm thinking,
Mm.
is it the voices that give us the intelligence or is it the belief in the voices?
Mhm.
What I mean? Is it the power of belief? My power was so strong in belief. And then I gave it to my husband and it like, did that belief cure him or was it that dandelion root? Because the thing about the will of a wildflower, when I was little, when my drowning, after the
Mhm.
drowning, we were at fishing with mom. I was youngest of five kids and dad, and something, right? We say it without anything, with something's like, come over here, come over here.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I don't want to. It's so gross. Like it looked like there had been a flood in these woods and it dried. It was all cracked leaves and muds. But over here on the left is beautiful lake and all these wildflowers. I want to go over there. It's like, no, 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 come over here, come over here. And I'm 5 years old. And I just had this drowning experience that I can't verbalize.
Oh,
And
yeah, I remember. Yeah. Mhm.
I walk over there and I'm like, ew, it's so ugly. Why am I here? And then I saw a beautiful flower growing. I can't tell you what kind of flower it was, growing out from under the rock. And I sat down like I made a friend. Like when I meet you, like I made a friend. And I like, oh my God, how did you grow out from under a rock? And you're like dancing in the wind, like you're celebrating your victory. That you did it. And I'm just like, oh, giddy, right? Like you say, the grass was so green and the sky's so,
Yeah,
you're like that.
yeah.
And so I'm like that. And I wasn't normal. My normal was a child, but I was doing this. And so I'm looking at this flower, then these voices start coming.
Mm,
It says, you are like this flower. You're growing up in a harsh environment, but you're going to have a very rough road ahead of you. But because of it, you'll have a very strong will. You'll have the will of a wildflower and all
mm.
this stuff. And this not did not come to me for decades later.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
started coming. I started coming after my second NDE, a little bit at a time. And
Mhm.
so that's what I was like, I know this is a very pretty cover
We're
for,
meant to be doing it.
pardon me?
So we are meant to be writing about it. We're meant to be doing these things.
Yeah.
It's
And then
energies are telling us that we've been guided. We've been guided to doing these things.
yeah, and then so I see this thing on my phone, right? And then I start doing some research. And then later on, I start looking up, dandelions. And oh my gosh, the strength they have inside of them is just like the message I got.
Yeah.
They are like the first food for so many things, after the winter, and that sustain everything else till more things come later. And the seeds are going to go so many miles and they strength out. So what we did last spring, we got 200,000 dandelion seeds and we
Wow.
plowed our hillside and we planted them. But I guess they haven't come up. But I guess the roots after 2 years is what you want to get. If anybody
Okay.
makes the tea or goes to make the
Okay.
tincture, don't do,
After two
yeah,
years.
don't dig them up the first season. Dig them up
Yeah.
after the second year. So, but
Wow.
I want to, hopefully they'll come up next year. And then
Awesome.
we can dig up the roots because
Yeah.
I have a big box of tea bags. You can either make the tea,
Nice.
you can make the tincture, and I want
Yeah.
to like go to places and just pass it out to people.
Wow. That's a
Yesterday,
lovely, lovely thing. Yes.
yesterday, a nurse called my husband to schedule for he have his second stent surgery on his kidneys, where it's so full of scar tissue, has blocked his kidneys and all.
Oh,
And
so
so
sorry.
she called to schedule that, and she said, I'm reading your stuff here. What you have is identical to what my husband has. He also has stage 4 colon cancer and peritoneal.
Hmm.
But his numbers is between 2,600 and 3,000. Like he's got it really bad. And she said, and I said, Jim, because he had it on speaker so I can take notes. I got my calendar, what we need to do. And I said, Jim, tell her about dandelion root. So he ended up spending like a half hour talking to her, explaining how much the dandelion root, where to get it, and da da da.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm like, wouldn't that be great if that would cure her husband? Like,
Oh my gosh, you're going to do amazing work if you can spread that message around.
that's
I
a
feel
huge
like
gift,
that's what you're meant to be
Like,
doing.
I'm so jealous of you. Like you got these great opportunities. Like your husband's this and that, and where
No,
you
but
live,
you
but
know, I don't do
people
anything
just
with my
run. And
husband.
I'm in Long
Nothing
Bottom,
from
Ohio.
VCU. Nothing comes to me from anything from VCU. I keep it two separate because I don't like anything to be mixed up. Everything that has come to me has come by way of my own work. There's no connection with him. In fact, they don't, half the people that reach out to me, they don't even know who he is.
Uh-huh.
It's
It just
funny
gives
that
you
you know.
credibility. Do you know what I mean?
Uh,
Oh, her
I
husband
don't
is so
know.
and so. That just is my
I
husband's
don't
a,
think so. I
a
think that I get the
retired
credibility
welder
from
teacher.
my own experience.
Yeah.
That's where
Yeah.
I've gotten all of my credibility over the
Yeah.
time for the past.
Well, for
I have
me
no
here, for
connection with
me,
him other than I
I picked,
do, I'm his spouse. That's it.
yeah.
But
Well, I
there's
mean,
really nothing
I picked
about
you
that.
out. I
Yeah.
picked out your video, and I
Sorry?
didn't know who you were. I picked out your video. I didn't know who
Uh-huh.
you were. I didn't hear who your husband was. I know nothing. And so that morning when I'm getting ready, when before the electric went out, and I'm getting
Right,
ready, and I'm
right.
so excited, and like, well, who is her husband? She said, Charge you. And I looked up, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, and
Yeah,
I
but
just thought,
no,
if God
usually
could,
no one knows. No one knows. It's funny, you know. I mean, half
uh,
the people that
I'm very
interview me, they have
impressed.
no idea.
Very impressed. I
They have
really
no
am.
idea. And because I don't do any, I'm not an employee there anymore. I am a volunteer. So I volunteer my time. I fundraise for them. I do all the things for them. I don't get paid a penny, and I have really very little to do with him. And I've given my life for the university pretty much. So he lets me do what I'm doing. He just says, "You do your thing." He doesn't even come to any of my events or anything. I'll ask him to come, he comes, but he was like, you need to shine on your own, and I don't want any connection to him. So it's funny you brought it up because most people have no idea, and I just leave it at that.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
mean, just
So
having
people
someone
have
with
no
that
idea.
intelligence as a spouse, like my husband
Yeah.
does not help me with any of this. You know what I mean?
No, nothing. I have
He totally
zero. I mean,
supports me though.
I don't use, in fact, what I do with my NDE, right? There have been other universities who've come to me. My husband's university has nothing, no interest in NDE, nothing,
Huh.
nothing, zip zero, nothing at all. So everything is done outside of this realm. I don't even see people from VCU. I don't see anybody. All the people that come to me are all non. These are all from
See, because
abroad.
I
And
would be,
I'm known for who I am. I'm not known as his spouse.
I would
That's the
be,
funny thing.
honey, we need to start a class at your university for this. Like, honey,
Yes,
you
no,
would help
I
me
don't
with
do
this.
anything because he'll get fired. I mean, we
Oh, we don't want
literally,
that.
I cannot do anything with the university, nothing, zero. My work is separate. It's
Hmm.
called conflict of interest. So I cannot do anything that is even remotely connected to the university. I don't even,
Yeah.
if a faculty member comes to me, I ask them, I say, I'm so sorry, I can't take you. I don't
Mhm.
do any work with anybody at the university.
I
Nothing.
noticed that you did not say the state you're in
Yeah, I don't
or
say
where
anything.
you come from. And
Yeah,
so I won't mention that either in like in the description or
yeah,
anything
yeah, yeah.
because I noticed you didn't.
I
And
didn't.
I
I don't.
noticed right away I will not
Yeah.
either because she did not mention.
Yes, yes. I say university, but I won't say which university. I
Yes.
won't say any of that because I'm supposed to keep it very separate. In fact, that's why when you said, can they do research work? I didn't say anything. I said UVA does it, and some other
Yeah.
University of Michigan that is because I don't do anything, nothing. In fact, they don't even
I
know what I do.
understand.
Yeah,
I
I
would
don't even
respect
like
that too.
on my LinkedIn and all these other places. If someone asks me from the university to follow me, I actually don't let them follow me. I mean, they can follow me, but I won't let them connect with me. There are
I
two things
understand.
because I have to keep it extremely separate. There's just too much of scrutiny because it's
Yes.
a state university. Yeah, that's why. So when you said, oh, they should do some research on NDE, I'm like, no,
Yeah.
no.
Like I say, I caught on to that. And that, like I said, that's why I
Yeah.
never mentioned the state
Yes, yes, yes.
because I thought I catch on that she's leaving that out and I will
I'm leaving
respect
it
that and
out.
leave
Yes,
that out.
that's by design. Yeah,
Yes.
because of his position and like I said, I don't do anything with them. I don't have any nothing. We're not. We live in our home is not the university home. It's our private home. So I do everything here. There's a lot of scrutiny, and I've been his spouse for the last 29 years now, and I'm the youngest presidential spouse, but the most senior because my husband started doing this at age 26. He was 26.
Mhm.
And we've been together doing this for 29 years. Most presidents get to that stage when they're in their 60s, late 60s, and he started it when he was 27. So I'm like the oldest, most senior, most. So I'm on all these boards and I mentor people who are like older than me, all of these things in this field, in this higher ed field. But other than that, when my work is concerned, we're like this. We're like two poles apart. I mean, he comes and joins me in my thing, and I embrace him, and he's amazing, and he's so supportive of me. But we have no university. I don't do anything with the university. Yeah, so I just keep it very separate.
Okay.
It
I
makes
keep
sense. So
saying
it
this.
doesn't help me.
If I had a
So
magic
don't feel
wand,
bad. It doesn't help me being his spouse in any way. All the connections I've ever built up have all been through my own, through my work. And so many people across the country, the world have healed completely 100% from nothing. Like just like the way I was healed, the same energies heal them. Cancers have just gone, vanished, they shrunk, gone with nothing. I don't give any tincture, nothing. Just the energy, that's it. So I'm known for that. More, I'm known for that than I'm known for being his spouse. And so when you brought it up, I was like, oh no, because I'm not known for being his spouse. I'm known
yeah,
for being
I wasn't about to
me.
give it away because I could tell that was,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to cause you any
Thank
problems.
you. Thank you. Thank you. This has been so enjoyable. I've just enjoyed not only the interview, but I've just enjoyed to getting to know you and, to hear your story, to meet your lovely husband. And, I hope that our paths will continue to cross in some regard. Maybe
Yes.
we'll do something together. Who knows?
Yes. I will send
Yeah.
you that contact information for Anthony. And
Yes.
when this is published, I will forward it on to him.
You send
So
it
you
to him
might be
too. Yes.
interested in this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a NDE with a twist. I mean, and I can go more deep into the NDE. Today I didn't, I decided to not go too deep into the NDE because I wanted to really focus on how this work is helping people and how it really connects and how it lifts people up, because the NDE is important and I couldn't be doing this without the NDE, but NDE doesn't, that experience doesn't totally define me. I've gone beyond that.
And I love how everybody's NDE is different. Their life is different because,
Yeah,
I can have you on and you're helping these CEOs of these companies, right?
everybody.
And then
Kids
I
too. Yeah.
had this, pardon me?
Everybody, kids, CEOs, doctors, professionals,
Yeah, I mean, the
everybody,
people you
animals.
reach. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then I had this other guy on. I found him, I don't know, a couple of years ago, a year ago. And he just got out of prison. He'd been in
Yeah.
prison his whole life. He was into Wicca because his mom was, as his kid, his whole
What
life.
does
He was
Wicca
like
mean?
his Wicca priest in
Oh,
prison.
priest.
And
I
he
didn't know.
had an NDE. And he's like,
Wow.
praise the Jesus and all this stuff. He's just like a huge
Yeah.
Jesus freak. And he's so cute. The way
Right.
his
Expresses
radiate,
himself.
covered
Yeah.
in tattoos.
Wow.
And there's actually another podcaster that when I started my channel, I won't go into it, just done me so wrong. He did something horrible to
Oh
me.
no. Oh
And I
no.
won't say names, but after this ex-con was on my show, I thought, you know what? He needs to be on that guy's show.
Yeah.
He will reach so many people more than my channel if
Mm-hmm.
he's on his. And I think he will really blossom out
Mm-hmm.
if he's on it. And so I sent the interview of that guy. I did. And I just said 2 words, Merry Christmas. It
Mm-hmm.
was at Christmas time. I
Yeah,
sent
yeah,
it to
yeah.
this guy that
But but
didn't
he but he
like.
but he had interviewed you too. But it didn't
No,
go
no, no,
well.
no. He didn't interview me. No, no,
Oh,
no,
okay,
no,
okay,
no, no.
okay.
No, my channel had just started and I invited him to be a guest.
Oh, got it, got
And I'll
it.
tell you the truth, he tried stealing my name into ETV.
What?
Tried stealing my name into ETV.
So how did you come up with the name, the NDTV?
Well, there's NDE Radio, Lee Whitting through Ions.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, well, people watch YouTubes on their TVs nowadays.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a TV show because it's
Yes,
going to be on
yes, yes, yes.
TV. And I had
I
a
like
ring
it.
to it. So it was just like come up, it's
It
automatic.
just
First
came
thing,
up. Yeah.
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 And so he tried
It's very
stealing it.
catchy.
Yeah. He tried stealing it and he took over what I was doing, even though he wasn't doing it before. And his went real big, which is great. I'm happy for him. But because I called him out, I had to call him out publicly for him to stop stealing my name.
Oh no.
He had a conference and he used NDE TV as
As
like
his.
presents this or something
Hmm. Hmm.
conference, and he was selling tickets. You can't use my name because you skip the country. They're going to come back on into ETV to pay
Yeah, yeah,
back
yeah.
this ticket. Whatever. It's my name. Leave me alone. And I had COVID too. I was so sick fighting this, and it took weeks to get him to stop. But anyhow, so there's this bad blood, and then he's told everybody I make Christians look bad and all this. Put the word out. Nobody was allowed to be on my channel. Anybody that was on his channel was not allowed to ever be on my channel.
Oh
It
boy.
was ugly, right? But I knew he needed to be on his channel because it
Mm.
had grown really big. He's a big
Yeah.
businessman. And I
Nice.
knew that it would do people so good to
Some
hear
good.
him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and I felt he needed a little leg up, you know?
Mm.
And
Hmm.
so I just said 2 words.
Nice of you to do that, right?
Yeah. I sent the video I did of this guy and I said, Merry Christmas. Of course, he didn't reply.
Of
And
course.
he was on there not
He
long
was on.
after that. He
Great.
was
Awesome.
on. It went huge. And then he went
Even
everywhere.
out there, even
Yeah.
everywhere. Awesome. Awesome.
Yay.
Awesome.
Yay.
Yeah.
But
I love
anyway,
your spirit, Peggy. I love your spirit. It's
thank
beautiful. I
you.
love your spirit. It's
Because,
lovely.
God sent me back. I got to raise my 3 boys.
Yeah.
I was told the answer is no.
Hmm.
That was my time.
Yeah.
And I cried and cried in heaven. That was my hell. People talk about hell and there's tore it up and there's bitten. No, hell is being 25 years old and you got 3 little boys at home and
Mm.
you're up in heaven. You can't get back down to earth to raise
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And Yeah. And so I told God, I said, if you could show me that my boys be better off without me for every reason, I agree to stay. But if not, I beg to return. I thought God would, in his wisdom, right? I said, I know from being Catholic, you're omniscient. I said that. And then I said what I just said. And the next thing I know, I see this man from behind, and I assume it's Jesus. And we're ducked down. We just dipped down
Mhm.
over top our trailer. We had a trailer at the time. And my three little boys in there, and my son Jeremy, they're like, my boy's like 4, 5, 6. And my son Jeremy's 5, and his Matthew is his oldest brother. Jeremy says to Matthew, as Jesus and I are hovering at the ceiling, watching down below, watching them below. And Jeremy says to Matthew, I know you say mom is dead, but I want her back, and I want her back right now. And I felt his pain
Yeah,
so
yeah,
bad that I retracted.
yeah.
And so when this is all over, when it's over, I'm back in a wheelchair,
Yeah, it's
you
amazing
know?
how we can feel the same thing. I didn't talk about it in great details, but I could feel like my son, my baby, newborn baby. It's just like you can feel everything, right? It's there's no limitation when you're out there in that space. It's just it is. You're everywhere. You can be everywhere, right? And you can feel everything. But when you're in the body, you just can't. It's like something stops us. I think most people can feel it. They just don't know that they can. You know,
And
it's
I think that's why you feel when you come back, because it seems like
yeah.
whatever we experienced over there, if it was telepathic communication, it was the voice of
Yes.
the guide
There you
telling us
go.
something. If it was feeling somebody else's emotions,
Yeah.
it's like
Or
that's
pain.
what we bring back. It's like we
Right.
have only so
That
many
ability
senses here, the
opens
eyes,
up.
the ears, the voice, the touch. But
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 sixth
when we're over
sense,
there, we have these others, and we come back.
yes, that's
We're
true.
still using it once we learn to trust.
That's exactly right. Trust is everything. If I don't know if I said the
You
word
did.
trust, but the trust is so important, without which I couldn't do what I do now. Because let's say I had the NDE, came back, I had the most amazing NDE, most entertaining, and I come back and I tell everybody about it. But I don't listen to what comes to me, right? What good is it? I had the ND for what? Like God brought me back for a reason. There's something more than just me being a mama, being a mom. That's a big part of it. Being a mother, being a spouse, being a child, whatever. That's a big part of it. But beyond that, there's something. There's a reason why I was brought back. And for me, my work is a different role than most other people who have NDEs. I know it's different. It's different because this work just opened up. I'd never studied it. So I've never learned it. I never got up one day and told my husband, hey, I want to be a healer. I want to start studying. I want this license, that. No. It just automatically came on my lap, right? So that's the evidence that I know I have to do it. And if I didn't have to do it, right, Peggy, wouldn't it have stopped by now? It's not stopping anytime soon. It just keeps getting more and more. I get today, every day I get like 5, 6 people who want to work with me. Just today, 2 people from a foreign country reached out on WhatsApp because some of the clients that my clients know these people, and they said, I'm sending someone to you. They send me the reports, the medical reports. Someone has like a heart attack, 2 heart attacks, big ones, and they want to work with me, like from around the globe. I don't know these people, random people show up. So if I didn't have to do it, right? Let's say I was thinking, oh, maybe I'm just going to do it. A lot of people who choose to do it and the work just doesn't go anywhere. And here I'm just doing it because I know I have to and I want to. And this energy just tell me I have to. Peggy, every day I have more people signing up that they want to do this work. Endless. It's never going to stop. And it's not from my husband or anything. It's coming automatically through my work, just through, the people that I've worked with me, clients. They send it to 5 other people. They send to five. It's become like a chain. It's been going on for what, 12 years now. I hardly sleep 2.5 hours at best. I sleep at night. 24, I'm just like constantly going through this all the time. And I love it. It gives me so much amazing, it's so gratifying, it's so pleasureful, and I feel like I'm just the spectator. I'm just looking at it. I'm not doing the work, right? It's less about my doing, it's more about allowing, and the energies just do it through my body. It's amazing. So amazing. And, I think each of us, for you, it might be the dandelion root that you have to you know make aware of, help people be aware of what the amazing effects of it. That may be your next project.
That's where I'm at.
you
I
know
mean, that's where Yeah, I still love talking into ears. You still do
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
podcast, but
Of course.
I wake up in the middle of the night, like, how can if it could help somebody. We went to the fair last week. After I talked to you, I think it was a Thursday, and
Yeah.
my husband kept wanting to go to the fair. And they're like, we got all this canning to do. And then this happened with the thing in a shed, and it's so stretched, the electric. And the thing is, when electric goes out, which it does often around here,
Oh,
it
it
goes out
does?
quiet. That day, it went like hard. Like you could hear this
Wow.
loud boom. Like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
just like crashed real loud. Like, ah. So, but anyway, so the next, Friday, we went to went to the fair, and we went to this one booth, and there's not booth, but this hallway, and there's people in there. And we got talking to this old couple. Wouldn't you know, the man, there's a husband and wife at this table, and he had been cured 5 years ago from pancreatic cancer. And so we got talking about my husband's cancer, and I said, well, they're using dandelion root as a cancer preventative. People worried about coming back. So we get talking to them. And then then my husband, like, where'd he go? He's talking to this other old guy down this other section. And that guy actually had cancer. He got cured, but now something's come back with his kidneys. The same thing
Oh,
that Jim just got his stents for.
uh-huh.
So he has me write down this everything. And then, like I say, when Jim's cancer come back after 7 months in April, and I asked this Epic News reporter, I says, what do we do now? Like he's still taking deadline. I don't know what to do now. I'm lost. I thought this was it. What are we gonna do? And she says, let me do some checking. Let me do some research. And I'm busy right now, but I'll do some research. She got back with me and she told me about this doctor that was in Canada, and they took his license and they took his house, they took his bank account,
Right?
everything. And he went down to Florida because he was telling people to use ivermectin and phenobenzol. They stripped him of everything. So
Wow.
he went to Florida, but now he's got DeSantis and all these other people. And
Yeah.
I guess there's like um, several states have went big pharma free or
Mhm.
something. And and so, but she told me about him, and she says venabenzol, ivermectin and venabenzol. And so he started it. And we heard about it before. He just took it a little bit. We didn't know really if it was safe or what to do. And so he started on a daily basis. And then we found out you have to do milk thistle or something like that because you need
Oh,
a
yeah.
filler to release it. So he did that, takes that
Mm.
also. And so right after he started that, his CEA went from 26 to 4.
Wow.
And we're like, oh my gosh, it's working. And at the
There's a
same
lot of,
time,
yeah.
at the same,
It's like
yeah,
a whole technology,
yeah.
I
And
think.
so
Yeah.
when he had that bowel obstruction Memorial Weekend in 25, where he almost died, from the scar tissue from the colon surgery, and now and his CT's come back bad in April. Something was showing in his kidneys. They says, we can't tell if it's cancer or if it's scar tissue. And they still can't. But the CA dropped, and then the CTs later come back good with cancer, so it's scar tissue. So anyway, so during this time, he's waiting to get these stents in because now he got all his scar tissue in his kidneys, and his urine flow was like really an issue, right? His problems here, and so he went to get the stents, and he tells the doctor, the urologist, he said, ever since I started ivermectin and phenobenzol, my urine flow's been great. And it has been. It's like like no, a
Wow.
young man just drank 5 beers. He's like, great. And he kind of like I know they're all just thinking, oh my God, ivermectin. He's probably, and we see the look on his face. He didn't say anything. Well, after his surgery, when he's still in recovery after getting the stents, the urologist took me in his room and he drew a picture. He says, this is what normal kidneys look like. This is your husband's. Drew this big,
Mm.
blob. And he says both kidneys were very enlarged, both completely blocked off. It had to have been the ivermectin that opened up his urine flow.
Wow. So he actually said it. That's
He
awesome.
said it. He said
That
it.
is awesome, Peggy.
And this was
Very
his
few people
nurse
will
that
say
called
that. That's
yesterday
awesome.
to set him up first.
Ivermectin. Mm.
Mhm. He said it.
Wow. So what is it? I'm not familiar with what it is. What is ivermectin? I don't know
It
what
is
it is.
a dewormer. It's for animals like horses.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
dewormer. And
Okay.
so people are swearing by it. Celebrities are coming on saying they have friends that this, cured their
So it's for kidneys. So it's mainly for kidneys?
kidneys. Well, it's helping other people's cancers too, but
Mm.
it's also very good for the kidneys. And I guess it's like kills parasites.
Parasites, okay.
Then you need something to clear it out of your
So how do
body.
you take it? Is like tinctures or?
It's in a paste,
Oh, okay.
and you squeeze out like you do with your toothpaste, about a
Right.
half inch, and you just like
Oh,
licks it.
oh,
And
wow.
then the ivermectin, I think, is a pill,
I
and he
see.
takes that, every day.
Ivermectin and what's the other one?
And
Ivermectin and
phenobenzol.
phenobenzol.
I guess you take both. They used to say ivermectin all the time. Now they say phenobenzol. This doctor that got kicked out of Canada, it's in Florida, is saying that. If I knew his name, I could tell you. But he's all over the internet, talking about it. But yeah,
Very,
they said in Canada, they took his medical license because he was telling people ivermectin is curing people's cancer. They took his
wow.
medical license. They took the mortgage on his house. They took his two bank accounts. So he left, he took
Very,
everything from, stripped him of
oh my God.
everything because he was saying ivermectin. And so he went to Florida and now it's gaining.
Oh, oh, wow. I'm so sorry.
But I mean, if the
I want to write it
Epic
down.
Times news
Ivermectin
reporter
and
told
what
me
else? I
anything
will
about
write
it,
it down.
pardon me?
Ivermectin and
Phenabenzol.
phenobenzol.
Yes.
Fena.
Fenben, I think it's like DO, maybe ZOLE. It'll show up. If you write ivermectin and start to write the word phenabin, it'll show up in your Google because they kind
Okay.
of go together. And then he takes milk thistle with it. The milk, I guess they call it what did I say they
Milk
call it?
thistle? Milk thistle or
Milk
no?
thistle.
Milk
It's
thistle.
a herb, and they say that you have to take a filler, and milk thistle just happens to be one of those, and he chose to take it. And they say these ivermectin and phenobenzol like clears out parasites, but then you need that they call it a filler that it'll actually your body to release those parasites.
I see.
And
Very
my
cool.
husband can see them. He has a colostomy, or not, is it called a colostomy? Yeah. He has a stoma, no, after the large bowel obstruction,
Right, right.
and he can see the parasites in his bag.
Oh, so it actually comes out.
It actually comes out.
Oh, yikes. Wow. And he's doing well. He looks good. Is he
Doing
feeling
good.
good?
But I tell you
Yeah.
what happened is about a month ago, he went to get his CT scan. No, yeah, he went to get a CT scan. And the guy, his nurse is new, says, I can't. He tried one time, couldn't get through the vein. So he told somebody to put it through his port that he gets his chemo through. And he put it through the port. He's never had it through his port before. They're designed for this, but
Right.
he had, and he wasn't well at all right after that. I ended up taking to the emergency room that night and put him on a heart monitor and checked him all out and said, you had a really bad reaction to the CT scan, the
Oh,
dye, the dye.
the guy. Yes, yes, yes.
And he never had a bad reaction before, all these CTs he's had. And he just wasn't well all week. He was tired. It's not like him at all. He's on the couch. It's not like him. And then the following Monday, he had his last chemo. And I
Mm,
really didn't want him to get that last chemo. It and see, it was back, the cancer was back in April. It was gone by July, but he's still getting the chemo in August. And it was his last chemo, or was it in yeah, and 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, might have been a month ago. And after he got it, I said, honey, I don't think you're well enough to get the chemo. I really wish you wouldn't do it. And he went ahead and got it. And he just was tired after that, and he's just not getting his energy back.
mm,
And this is the first time in all through this that anything has zapped him this long,
mm,
his energy. And then when he got the stents, they have to give you some kind of medicine, some pill you take after that to help circulatory or something. I don't know. And didn't realize it lowers your blood pressure. And he was always
mm.
already on a blood pressure
Low
medicine.
blood pressure. Yeah, yeah.
And we went to the guy that has the Mother Earth food store. He has a thing at his house once a year. We go walk along and see all these herbs. And it was a real hot day. And he's like, I don't feel so good. And that's not like him. I was like, okay. So I ended up taking him to the emergency room, and they almost admitted him. They was going to admit him, that he decided not to. But his blood pressure went way low.
We
And
up?
because it went way low, his blood pressure.
Right.
because of the medicine that he was
Yeah.
on after the stents he was supposed to be on, and then
Right.
blood pressure pill. So,
It
so
went
he went
way
off the blood
up.
pressure pill and that medicine. So now he goes to get the stents in 2 weeks, and I'm like, we got to get this figured out. Are you going to be okay to not take that medicine? Are you going to be okay if you don't have the blood
Right.
pressure? So
Yeah.
I'm become a nurse.
Well, you're
So
an amazing nurse. I'm sure you do so much, and you also have this, ability to sort of connect, right? So you're not just going to take what they're telling you. You're going to listen to what is right, and keep doing that. Keep doing that, because the energies know, God knows way more than anything anybody else here knows. So always listen to it. I
yes,
do. I myself do. I always
yeah,
listen to it.
yes.
Much against the doctors. I'll tell you, I was in the hospital, a few, was it a few months ago for something else, and it was like a UTI, sort of UTI that had gone a little bit extra, to another side, and actually went into kidney. And these people got so scared. They were like, "Oh my gosh, you'll get sepsis, you'll get this, you'll get that." And it just told me everything is fine, don't worry about it. So I don't do anything, and then I actually leave, and I say, "Okay, I'm leaving. I'm fine. Everything is fine. I don't have any pain. Everything is okay. You're just worrying for no reason." I go back home next morning, and they had run a test on me. The tests are all looking terrible because it's all bad. The tests are all, positive, basically. It's looking bad. So, and I walk home, and I come back, and I leave, and I just get back home. And next morning, this doctor calls me up, and she says, "You need to come back because your tests looking pretty bad." And I said, "You can't get me to come. I'm not coming. I'm completely okay. I'm completely okay." And she says, "Have Dr. Rao come on." That's my husband. "Have Dr. Rao come back on the phone." So he comes, and she says, "You have to bring her in. It's not looking good." And he looks at her. I mean, he's on the phone. He's like he's like, "Do you think I can get her to come?" She's not coming. "And do you think she looks sick?" She's not sick. So she's not believing. And she says, "Unless I see her, I'm not going to believe it because the tests are looking pretty bad. You just have to have her come in. Get her back, get her back in here." And it's the emergency room. And I'm not going. And I said, "You know what? Give me your address. I'll come and see you tonight at your house. What time do you come back from your
Oh,
thing?" She said 7:30. So I tell my husband, "Come on, let's go." I take this big bottle of wine and a big cake, and I'm going to go to her house. I'm just going to go. So I go in, and I say, "You see me? Do you want to touch my kidneys? Because I know where they are." So "Go ahead, touch it. Go ahead, touch it." I said, "Push it hard." And she does. I said, "Do you think I'm squealing? Do you think I'm in pain? Do you think my kidneys are problematic?" And she says, "No, you can't fake it." I said, "Right, I can't fake it. I'm not feeling the pain. I'm not feeling sick. Completely okay." She said, "That's impossible." She said, "Look at your report." She shows it to me. She says, "Look, Dr. Rao, look." She shows it to my husband. "Look at the report." And he says, "Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I'm telling you, my wife is completely okay." So she says, "How is it possible?" Because it's a miracle. My previous case was a miracle case. So I tell her, I say, "I'm going to tell you what it is I do for a living all day long for the last 12 years, and how I healed 100% from my own health experience." I tell her, and she's like, her jaw just drops down. She says, "Something does it for you?" I said, "Yeah, something does it for me." While the reports look terrible, remember, the human body, the body, I talked about it earlier, is dense. It's separate from this, who I am now. When I separated from the body and I went up into the light, I came back in. I'm back in the body doesn't mean I am body. I have now separated from the body. So you may think that something is wrong in the body. The body is not me. And it was like an aha moment for her. She said, "This is amazing. She says, "You're a miracle. You're a miracle," she says. And in fact, I have text from her. She says, "We are flummoxed." She writes this down. "We are perplexed and flummoxed as to how it shows that you're well. I mean, it shows that you're well by what you're saying, but our tests are proving that you are not well." We actually have tests now to prove it. If somebody comes, a documentarist comes and says, I want to see proof, I actually have proof. We
I don't
actually
know why
have
you
proof.
don't do those documentaries.
If somebody wants to do it, I'll do it.
Oh, okay.
I'll do it. If somebody
Okay.
comes and says, because that's what energies told me. So 3 people came to me. In fact, there's one, from the state. There's a film. It's called, I think, a film office. It's called the Virginia Film Office. You look it up, Google it online. That person reached out to a local filmmaker, local person, a videographer, and said, I didn't know this. He went without telling me. He went directly to him and he said, you should stop doing these videos that you're doing about fly fishing and all this stuff. You have a person here in town. You should go and do a